A very good evening and welcome along to European Athletics live coverage of Meeting Cidade de Lisboa 2026. This is a World Athletics Continental Tour Challenger level event, and we will be on air for the next 3 hours or so, taking you up to about 7:15 or so local time in Portugal, which is of course 1 hour behind Central European time. And we have just had some action in the 400 meter hurdles, but things will be getting more interesting, more elite, shall we say, as the program goes on. And we'll be seeing plenty of leading Portuguese names, along with a smattering of international competition taking them on. As you can see, the long jump is already underway, the women's long jump. And I'll try check in on that. There's a number of athletes in that, well beyond 6 meters, led of course by Evelise Veiga of Sporting Club Portugal. This, however, is Maria de Carmo Lucio, who is an under 20. She has a best of 5:73. And I believe next up on track it's going to be the 100 meter races. There's a number of races to come in the 100. Between men and women.
At least it's nice weather and not pissing it down.
I know. At least in the shade.
Yeah, so true.
And at the moment in the long jump, still quite early days, we're just through round 1, and it is Britain's Mary Elcock who leads the way on 6:04 ahead of Sara Ferreira, who's an under 18 athlete from Portugal, who's in second on 6 meters. And then back in third it's Rafaela Lopez with 5:97. Rafaela Santos and Evelise Veiga both fouling in round 1. So it's on to round 2. Actually, forgive me, we're still in round 1 as Maria de Carmo Lucio runs up well behind the board there. Impossible to tell from that angle just how big that jump was. But de Carmo Lucio of the AFS club, she is a junior athlete looking to get something close to her personal best. But red flag, it looks like it is raised there. This is Margarita Figueiredo, the Greek athlete. She is a senior athlete, has a best of 6:05. As I mentioned, we are just in opening round of this women's long jump, and Margarita Figueiredo sets off down the runway, and that is a foul. Well over the board there. It does look like the athletes seem to have a tailwind, which can often wreak havoc with the run-up. So no joy there for Figueiredo, but she will have another couple of attempts to set things right. Plenty of field event action as well coming up this evening. There will be discus, men's and women's, men's pole vault, high jump as well, women's high jump, along with of course the long jump and indeed the women's pole vault. To bring you up to speed, in fact the women's pole vault has completed. Now was Joanna Barreto who took victory there. As we look back to the women's discus, where Carla Mendez, with her personal best of 41.01. There is the full lineup. A name that many throwers will be very familiar with is atop that lineup. Denia Caballero of Cuba, 36-year-old. Fascinating to see what she produces this evening. She was, of course, the world champion back in 2015. It was 11 years ago now. Olympic bronze medalist 10 years ago in Rio. Still throwing very well in recent years as well. No surprise that she's some way off her best. This, I think, is Caballero's opening competition of the year, unless she competed somewhere that the databases have missed. Quite a late start to the season for the 36-year-old. And of course, Caballero will be expected to be challenged by Liliana Cá, Portuguese athlete, who was the best of 65.35, by some way the second best thrower in that discus field. But we're now looking back towards the horizontal jumps.
Vai embora.
And this event, the Meeting Cidade de Lisboa, is coming to you live from the Estadio Universitario de Lisboa. And it is, to give it its official title, it is the Meeting Cidade de Lisboa Memorial Professor Mario Moniz Pereira, who is commemorated by this event, which is, of course, a World Athletics Continental Tour Challenger level meeting. Presentations ongoing for the women's 400 meter hurdles. As we see Cheyenne Silva taking it down in 57.22. Juliana Guerrero second, 57.45, and Lucia Martina back in third. Some very dramatic podium music playing as the ladies wait patiently. And as I mentioned, I believe next up on track it will be the 100 meters series. Lots of various 100 meter races to come there.
Atenção à apresentação dos 100 metros.
Now it's back on track for the first series of these women's 100 meter races. And we have, well, the cameraman's kind of jumping all over there, but we'll start from the inside. And we'll start where the camera is. That is Ngoya Akamabi. And alongside her, well, it was Goreta Semedo, then Ngoya Akamabi. Then in lane 5, Daniela Campigotto. Lane 6, Lorena Basolo of Sporting Club Portugal. Lane 7 was due to be Carla Garcia, but she's absent. And on the outside in lane 8, Beatriz Andrade of Sporting Club de Portugal. And the ones I just didn't get to on the inside there, lane 1, Beatriz Castellano. Lane 2, Carolina Ventura. Lane 3, Goreta Semedo. Lane 4, Ngoya Akamabi. Lane 5, Danielle Campigotto. Lane 6, Lorena Basolo. And lane 8, Beatriz Andrade. The first section. We expect the fastest section of the women's 100 meters. Away they go. It's quite an even start, going very well there in lane 2 and 1 is Castellano and Ventura. It looks like in 2 it is Ventura at the moment, but also flying down the outside in lane 6, that's Lorraine Basolo. It's very close at the finish. 11:38 unofficially on the clock. Lorraine Basolo was flying out there in lane 6, but going very well on the inside were Beatriz Castellano and Carolina Ventura. And it really was about 3, 4, maybe even 5 athletes flashing over the line almost together there. Probably a metre or 2 between them up the front. And it looks like some results are just coming in. And Carolina Ventura, 11:39 flashing up there for her. So Ventura takes victory ahead of Beatriz Castellano with 11:40. Waiting for the official confirmation of the others. But Carolina Ventura, who is just 17 years old, I believe she's the youngest in the race, she has smashed her personal best. Just waiting on the wind here. But I don't think it's too windy that it will disallow that as a personal best, and she was certainly ecstatic to see that clock. Carolina Ventura, 11:39 her previous best. She had set the Portuguese under 18 record. And indeed she doesn't turn 18 until next year, so this is a massive Portuguese under 18 record for Ventura, who has been in fantastic form this season and certainly looks a name to keep your eyes on for the future. Just 17 years old she turned earlier this year. She is the Portuguese junior champion. And of course, she won a bronze medal at the European Youth Olympic Festival last year in Skopje over 100 meters. So she is very much a name to watch. And it was great to see her do her thing and win what we expect will be the fastest section of the women's 100 meters as we go back to the men's triple jump.
Apresentação da segunda série dos 100 metros femininos. Pista número 1, Juventude Fingalense Margarida Godinho. Pista número 2, Esporte do Portugal Joana Pestana. Pista número 3, do Grupo Desportivo do Estreito Patrícia Rodrigues. Pista número 4, da Associação da Ponta Brasil Joana Dias. Pista número 5, do Sporting Clube do Traga Iris Silva. Pista número 6, do Grupo Eirense Camila Schmacher. Pista número 7, do Solar dos Leões, Luciane Pascoal. Pista número 8, do João Chelsea Oliveira. Boa prova. Atenção à partida.
So that was David Rocha of Sporting Club Portugal, the youngster. He's an under-18 athlete. Has a best in the long jump of 5:18. But he's well up against it here with some of the men in that one. But now it's back for Series 2 of the women's 100 meters, Section 2. Looks like we have a full complement, I think, of athletes for this one. Or are we missing Iris Silva? Was supposed to be in lane 5. Yes, she is there. So from the inside in Section 2 of the women's 100 meters, lane 1, Margarida Godinho. Lane 2, Joana Pestaña. Lane 3, Patricia Rodriguez. Lane 4, Joana Diaz. Lane 5, Iris Silva. Lane 6, Camille Schneider. Lane 7, Lucenia Pascual. And lane 8, Chelsea Oliveira. As you can see, Silva is the quickest of them on personal best. The only athlete to have gone under 11:80. Joana Diaz, though, to the lane inside her in lane 4. And Camille Schneider to her right as she comes out of the block. Silva, they look like the biggest contenders, the other sub 12 second women. Look out for lanes 4, 5 and 6, and indeed it is no surprise there to see Silva pulling clear, but going very well there in lane 3 is Patricia Rodriguez, who looks on for a big personal best. It looks to be between Rodriguez, who gets it at the line. Patricia Rodriguez, who's never broken 12 seconds before. Has she done it this evening? It was Patricia Rodriguez ahead of Iris Silva. And we'll get a look back at that one. 12 or so seconds certainly passed by in a flash.
Yeah, I was literally marginal over as well. PB jump.
But Patricia Rodriguez, indeed, I suspected it was below 12 seconds. It certainly is below 12 seconds. 11:80. That's a big personal best for Patricia Rodriguez. Second place goes to Iris Silva, also of Portugal, with 11:90. And then it is Joana Diaz who took third in 12:12, just ahead of Margarita Godinho, 12:13, back in fourth. This is Evelise Vega of Sporting Club Portugal, who fouled in the first round. This is her second attempt. Let's see how she is on the board. Not good. Just over the board there again. So it's 2 fouls to start the competition, unfortunately, for Evelise Vega. It is a warm evening in Lisbon. It's a warm, pretty windy evening. 26 degrees. And just looking back through the results, unfortunately for our women's 100 meter winner, Carolina Ventura. The tailwind in her race, the first section of that women's 100 was 2.1. That is agonizing, so that won't officially count as a personal best, but Carolina Ventura, she just had a 2.0. She would have absolutely obliterated her own Portuguese under-18 record, but either way, it's a brilliant run as we look back on track for section 3 of the women's 100 meters. In lane 2, Laura Moreira. All the athletes in this are from Portugal, representing various clubs. So lane 2, Laura Moreira. Lane 3, Alzira Gomez. Lane 4, Maria Carvalho. Lane 5, Rafaela Santos. Lane 6, Beatriz Alves. And lane 7, Daniela Amaro. There is Santos. Beside her, Beatriz Alves. And then in lane 7, Daniela Amaro, who's a 12:56 athlete at her best. But I wouldn't expect there to be too much between these athletes on the track. There certainly isn't on paper. 12:31. Alzira Gomez in lane 3 is the quickest of them, but only very marginally. She's an under 23. Maria Carvalho in lane 4 isn't just an under 18 athlete. She's run 12:33. Wouldn't be surprised to see her take a chunk off that, as often happens when athletes are in their teenage years. That natural progression that comes with development and maturity. So the full lineup for section 3 of the women's 100 meters. Lane 2, Laura Moreira. Lane 3, Alzira Gomez. Lane 4, Maria Carvalho. Lane 5, Rafaela Santos. Lane 6, Beatriz Alves. And lane 7, Daniela Amaro. Away they go. It's a pretty even start there. Hard to tell who's pulling away at the moment. It looks like this could be a blanket finish. 4 in line almost there, with Alves and Amaro going well on the outside. This is going to be very close though. And it is Daniela Amaro down the outside. The one senior running against a field that includes under 23s, under 20s and under 18 athletes. And while Daniela Amaro on the outside had the slowest personal best at 12:56, it looks like she has obliterated that. I suspect maybe that might not be correct, or maybe she hasn't run too many 100-meter races, because that was an impressive display from Daniela Amaro. Here is Maria do Carmo Lucio, the under 20 Portuguese athlete. She opened with 5:22 in round 1. So Maria do Carmo Lucio opened with a 5:22. That has her down in 4th place of the 7 athletes. The way is still being led by Mary Elcock of Great Britain, the senior athlete, with 6:04, just ahead of the young Portuguese under 18, Sara Ferrara. Claps been going to cheer Maria do Carmo Lucio down the runway. That looks perfect on the board for do Carmo Lucio. Steps safely out of the pit and will await her mark there. Could well be an improvement. And the wind is kind of gusting up and then dying down at different times. It was interesting that it was 2.1 for the first of those women's 100-meter races, and then the very next race it was 0.0. Seeing that a bit in the long jump as well. But as you can see there, the surrounds are relatively well protected by trees and that grandstand, so often can offer a bit of a buffer to athletes. Seeing if we have a result from that women's 100 meters. The third section has not quite come back yet into the system. So we focus on events in this women's long jump while we await the next event on the track. Here is Margarida Figueiredo, the Greek athlete. Sorry, the Portuguese athlete. And what can Figueiredo produce here? She fouled in the first round. It's a great shot of the board, and that looked perfect on the board. It gets the white flag. Official just waiting for Figueiredo to exit the pit before raising that white flag. That will be a measured attempt by Figueiredo.
Paula Zati, pista número 5, do Sport do Benfica, Pedro Afonso, pista número 6, do Sport do Braga, Paulo Pereira, pista número 7, do Sport do Portugal, William Costa, e depois pista número 8, do Sport do Lisboa, Benfica, David Landim. Boa prova, atenção à partida.
So it's time for the first section of the men's 100 meters, and we'll be pretty rapid with the intro here because they're about to be called to their marks. So it's a mostly Portuguese field. But on the inside, representing Sporting Club de Portugal, George Ade. Lane 2, Rodrigo Rito. Lane 3, Gabriel Maia. Lane 4, Tauler Zatti. Lane 5, Pedro Alfonso. Lane 6, Paulo Pereira. Lane 7, William Costa. And lane 8, David Landim. The quickest athlete in the field on paper will go in lane 3. It's a Portuguese man, Gabriel Maia, who will be running in that familiar green and white stripes of Sporting, which is a famous multi-sport club, of course. 10:17 is Maia's best, but out in lane 5, Pedro Alfonso is a 10:33 man as well, and of course from Brazil in lane 4, Tauler Zatti is a 10:39 man at his best. They're the only athletes in the field, Afonso, Zatti and Maia, lanes 3, 4 and 5. We'll look to see the speed perhaps coming from them. They're the only three who've gone under 10:50, so look out for lane 3, Gabriel Maia, lane 4, Tauler Zatti, and lane 5, Pedro Afonso. And that looks like a false start on the outside by David Landim. Open to correction, someone may have set him off by twitching or moving in the blocks. If so, there will be a review. It might not be his fault, but judging off the naked eye there, it did look pretty blatant that David Landim tried to steal a march down the outside. And as it was in the women's 100 meters, we would very much expect that this is the quickest of the 3 heats. The most elite men in the women's 100 meter field are in this one, and unfortunately it is bad news for David Landim, who is, well, a very long time there he's been shown the red card but didn't seem very keen to leave. I think he's going to go over and have a chat with officials. It wouldn't be surprised me if he was pointing towards some crowd noise. He was of course in the outside lane. Sometimes the athletes who are just closer to the crowd or other athletes having conversations, making noise, there can be allowances made if the judge doesn't deem it was their fault primarily. And I think that might have been what he was suggesting there, because the official did have a quick word, but no dice either way. His explanation falls on deaf ears. So David Landim is out of it. 7 men left going to the line for this first section of the men's 100 meters at the Meeting de Lisbon 2026, a World Athletics Continental Tour Challenger level event. And 7 men going to the line for this one. Lane 1, George Ade. Lane 2, Rodrigo Rito. Lane 3, Gabriel Maya. Lane 4, the favourite, Tauler Zatti, or one of the favourites. Lane 5, Pedro Afonso. Lane 6, Paulo Pereira. And lane 7, Willian Costa. And as I mentioned, the lanes to watch out for, lanes 3, 4 and 5, Maya, Zatti and Afonso. Away they go, and it looks like Maya is out to a great start there in lane 3, but look up the inside, George 8 is going well as also. It's very close at the moment as they run towards the line, and I believe that was lane 4 or 5, Zatti and Afonso. I can only apologise for the choice of camera shots we saw on that race, because we went to an overhead zoom shot, and it was in fact lane 5, that was Pedro Afonso taking victory there. He's a junior athlete, 10:33 his previous best. The men's long jump.
Só tem cumprimento Bernardo Cunha, 708, vai ganhando ao Marcos
Bernardo Cunha, Portuguese athlete who is under 23. Sounds like we're going to have another presentation as we see 3 flashing up for the result in the men's long jump. So the way is being led by Bernardo Cunha there. 7:08 his best so far in round 1. Backed it up with a 7:03 there. He leads ahead of Omar Jesus, a Portuguese athlete who has jumped 6:84, and then back in third, David Rocha, under 18 athlete, 5:66, but still very early days in that men's long jump.
Primeira classificada, marca de 11 de Lisboa, representando o Sport Lisboa e Benfica, Carolina Ventura.
Presentation there for that women's 100 meters that we saw. And what a performance it was by Carolina Ventura. 11:39, just agonizing that the wind was just over the allowable limit for records of 2.0, 2.1 meters per second tailwind, so would otherwise have smashed the Portuguese under 18 record, which she set herself. Not to be on this evening, but still remarkable running by the youngster, the 17-year-old Portuguese sprinter. There will be another section of the men's 100 meters coming up, and bang on cue. Nice work, director. Straight back over to check in on section 2 of the men's 100 meters. There are your athletes. Lane 2, Rui Neves,
Atenção à
Lane 3, Pedro da Silva. Lane 4, Bernardo Ferreira. Lane 5, Gelson Lisboa. Lane 6, Finda Sevani. And lane 7, Eduardo Camacho. 6 athletes going to the line for section 2 of the men's 100 metres. The quickest of them, on personal best, will go in lane 3. That is Pedro da Silva. He's in the bright green vest there in lane 3. The second quickest among them is in the green and white stripes of Sporting. Bernardo Ferreira, he'll be going in lane 4. But I have to imagine it probably won't be much between the men and the inside 4 or 5 lanes, but a favourite perhaps in lane 3, Pedro da Silva. Away they go. It is a flying start there from Da Silva. Just a shorter athlete, really rockets out of the block, and now his class is telling midway through this race. Da Silva pulling clear. Coming back well there is Bernard Ferreira, and it was close at the finish, but even from that behind the athlete's angle, I think it was clear to see that Pedro da Silva, the quickest man in the field on personal bests, has got the job done. 9.9 on the clock there unofficially as he comes up towards it. He was nowhere near that, of course, but 10.74 unofficially flashes up for Pedro da Silva, so he'll be watching that clock with bated breath, I suspect. 10.77 it is confirmed at now. There is obviously often discrepancies between the time that's seen on the initial clock and the time we'll see once it's made official. However, people still widely use the term rounded down and rounded up. That is not what happens to the times. The initial time, of course, we see is just a reflection of when the laser beam has been crossed, which could have been by an arm or a foot. Of course, it's the torso that counts in sprinting, so the official time we see is done off the photo finish. Find out exactly when that torso crossed the line. So we see the men's pole vault field and Pedro Boardo 572, much the strongest of them on paper. Let's see if he can put that into practice out there on the track. And we will have one more section upcoming in the men's 100 metres. Men's pole vault, however, just underway. This is Pedro Fernandes, Portuguese athlete, about to take his opening attempt at 4:20. One athlete has gone clear. That's Diogo Meneses, Portuguese athlete.
Ora, na segunda série, vitória para o atleta da categoria de Copas Municipal do Sul, 10,37. Segundo, Bernardo Ferreira, do Sport Portugal, 10,87.
So, Pedro Boardo.
Apresentação da terceira série dos 100 metros masculino.
A real world-class operator in this event, a 24-year-old. He's a 4-time national champion. I mentioned that personal best, 5:82. National record when he went over that, indoors of course, 2 years ago. His outdoor best is 5:72. And a good start there at what I think is 4:20. Barro, who went over a national record earlier this year in Bidgosh for Portugal. But back on track for section 3 of the men's 100 meters. And in lane 2 is Diogo Teixeira. Lane 3, Duarte Amarin. Lane 4, Duarte de Figueiredo. Lane 5, Victor Santos. And lane 6, Miguel Batista. Quickest of them on paper is in lane 3. That's Duarte Amarin. It is the man right on the inside, lane 2, Diogo Teixeira, who is pulling clear here. And it looks like Teixeira is going to take a decisive win. 10:84 on the clock. That is a massive personal best. His previous best was listed at 11:30, so he'll be another who's waiting with bated breath to see the wind. But Diogo Teixeira pulled clear there. Duarte Amarin back in second. He'll have been close to his personal best as well, which was 11:01. Has he gone under 11 seconds for the first time in his career? Looks very close.
No lançamento do disco, após o terceiro ensaio.
So back to the women's long jump, and Evelise Vega with her third attempt. She finally gets the white flag. That's what she wanted to see more than anything there. And Vega will be on the board.
E na terceira posição a atleta finlandesa Eni Aula, 46:21. O disco masculino, atleta do Sporting Clube de Portugal, André Facina, após o terceiro ensaio, segue na frente com o
So here is the leader at the moment, Mary Elcock, who opened with a 6:04, fouled her second round, and here she is in round 3. As I mentioned, she has the lead by just 4 centimetres over the youngster, Sara Ferreira, with the Woodford Green and Essex Ladies athlete. Let's see what she can produce here. She's a 6:08 jumper at her best. She's also a good triple jumper. She's been over 13 metres. So far this season looks like just one competition, 5:76, so she's already comfortably surpassed that this evening. Unfortunately, it's a red flag in round 3. So no great joy there for Mary. And I just see now that Evelise Vega's last jump was confirmed at 6:22, so Mary Elcock no longer the leader. She's demoted to second, and Vega, the third round effort of 6:22, has swept to the front. Here is Rafaela Santos, opened with 5:68. See a replay of Elcock's foul. So Santos, the under 23 athlete from the ACPV club in Portugal. She's currently down in 7th position of 7 athletes, 5:68, but not too much ground to make up to improve her position. Just 3 centimetres behind the athlete in 6th. See what she can produce here. And that is unfortunately a red flag for Santos.
Apresentação dos 100 metros, cadeiras, rodas, a pista número 2, o AJS Guilherme Alves, a pista número 4, AJS Rafael Neto, e a pista número 6, Afonso Jandrada, do AJS. Atenção à partida.
So, the field for the para 100 meters, Guillermo Alves, Rafaela Neto and Afonso Hantarada, and it is Neto, unsurprisingly, pulling way clear there. 14:59. That is a personal best. 14:54 on the clock. 14:59 was his personal best. So Neto looks like he's smashed that. Guillermo Alves came through for second on the inside lane. Then it was Afonso Hantarada back in third, rounding out the field. 100 meters. As we see Sara Ferreira. In the women's long jump, and the plasticine has been taking and beating so far this afternoon. It is relatively early days in this women's long jump. Here is Maria del Carmo Lucio, down in 6th place with 5:71 in that second round. She would need a 25 centimeter improvement to move up in positions and catch the likes of Margarita Figueiredo. But del Carmo Lucio can she produce here in round 3? And she looks like she's gonna get the white flag, I think. Yes, indeed. Maria del Carmo Lucio on the 5:71. It's now presentation time. In that men's 100 meters, Pedro Alfonso 10:23 takes the victory ahead of Gabriel Maya and George Ade. Brilliant run it was by Alfonso. 10:23. Unfortunately, the wind there, 2.2 meters per second. So, much like our women's champion, a bit of a heartbreaking wind reading. You do want to just up on that 2 meters per second mark. It's very annoying when it is just over, when you are almost teased to know exactly how fast you would have run and could have run. But alas, can't quite count it as a personal best or a national record. But nonetheless, it tells Pedro Afonso, the junior athlete from Portugal, that such a time is certainly possible. And that was by the youngster. Just 19 years old is Afonso. The European under-20 silver medal over 200 meters last year. And a big talent to keep your eyes on in the years ahead. So in this men's long jump, it is Marcos Lara, the junior athlete from Spain, who's leading the way with 7.72. Semi Locke from Ireland in second with 7.53. And Bernardo Cunha back in third, the Portuguese athlete. 7.08 his best to date, but it is quite early in the competition still. And I think that is Valentin Tobok. Yeah. Senior athlete from Romania, Toboc. He fouled his first two attempts. It was good to have a little help from your friends on the circuit. Andre Pimenta on the right. And he is very much good to go.
Perfect.
A sporting athlete.
No. Don't feel my leg.
But back on the runway, Omar Jesus, 23 athlete from Portugal. 6.84 his best at the moment. That's him in 5th place. So let's see what Jesus can conjure up here in round 3 of the men's long jump. So he just bails out of that one there. We're currently at 470. As we see presentation for the women's high jump, which was ongoing a while ago. That was Ireland's Summer Leckie. Quite lucky. Just a misspelling there on that. But Summer Leckie from Donegal in Ireland takes victory with a 1.78 clearance ahead of Marta Lisboeta and Mariana Pontes. Leckie, of course, the world under 20 medalist in the high jump. Back in, I think it was 2018. As we look back to the men's pole vault, where the bar is currently up at 470, so 2 failures so far for Diogo Menezes. Pedro Fernandez has gone clear at 470, and then the likes of Pedro Boireau and Luis Probstle have passed. It looks like they've passed. Well, Probstle looks like he's going to rejoin at 510, but Boireau has passed, looks like, all the way to 540 as we go back to the long jump.
Da, sunt lente ca în bătaie.
Metros femininos. Primeira série, pista número 1, visando o Sporting Clube Portugal, Inês Alves. Pista número 2, visando a Associação de Justiça Costa Alves. Pista número 3, visando a Vitória Sporting Clube, Alazé Xenabia. Pista número 4, da Austrália, de Jorge Blanca. Pista número 5, do Brasil, Jéssica Silva. Pista número 6.
Back to the pole vault, and it is a clearance for Menezes. Diogo Menezes does go clear at the 3rd and final time of asking, and the bar will now be going to 480. Next up on track, looks like it's going to be a little bit of 400 meter action. And we're going to be starting with the women. We're going to have 2 sections of women's 400 meters and 2 sections of men's. As it was in the 100 meters, we would expect the quickest of them to be the first, although not too much between them. So section 1 of the women's 400 meters, in lane 1, Inez Alves; in lane 2, Constanza Alves; lane 3, Alasna Echeverria; lane 4, Jordan Blake; lane 5, Jessica Silva; lane 6, Clara Martina; and lane 7, Ella Tobin. So pretty even here. It looks like Jessica Silva there of Brazil has gone out quite hard in lane 6. She's a 54-second athlete. Jordan Blake as well there in 5 is going quite well. She of course is a 53-second athlete. Looks to be between these two at the moment. Jordan Blake in 4 and Jessica Silva in 5 as this stagger unwinds. It's quite close, but also going well out there in lane 6 is Clara Martina, the Portuguese athlete. She's still hanging tough at the moment as under 23 athlete with these 2 seniors alongside her. But as they round into the home straight, out in lane 5, it is Jessica Silva of Brazil who is clear. She looks to be coming home well in front now. Has just outlasted the likes of Jordan Blake, Jessica Silva, Clara Martina. Up to the line, 53.96 it was there for Silva of Brazil. Takes victory, and that will be a personal best for Jessica Silva. And while she's in pain, as athletes always are after a 400 meters, she's certainly smiling through the pain there. Jessica Silva, in fact, I've found a more reliable personal best for her, which is 53.1. Dates back 9 years. Over 54.02 it is confirmed at now. So just outside the 53s, but a really good performance there by Jessica Silva. Was running very well this year. Certainly more and more athletes in their 30s are proving it is certainly no barrier. I think it is more the case as you start to move up the distances, but of course the likes of Shawnee Miller-Weibo come back from having her second child and running brilliantly this year, the 2-time Olympic 400 meter champion. The likes of Alison Felix aiming to make the Los Angeles Olympics when she'll be in her 40s at the time of the games. Fascinating to follow that one. And of course Merlene Ottey, the likes of some of the greats of the sport who paved the way and proved what is possible for older athletes. As we see confirmation of that result in wheelchair 100 meters, Rafael Neto a class apart, 14.56 ahead of Guillermo Alves and Afonso Yantarada, 20.62, back in 3rd. Timetable ticking along nicely, and after that first heat of the women's 400 meters, the ladies are back on track now for the second section. And the full lineup for section 2 of the women's 400 meters. In lane 2, Margarita Machado. Lane 3, Dadiva Pedro. Lane 4, Carolina Duarte. Lane 5, Maria Poppe. Lane 6, Isabel Serras. Lane 7, Uhuru Rocha. And lane 8, Daniela Venda. Quickest athlete in the field on personal bests, Carolina Duarte in lane 4. Listed at 56.23 her best, but very little to choose between her and the likes of Maria Poppe in lane 5 and Isabel Serras in lane 6. Also 56-second athletes, low 56-second athletes. And Isabel Serras will certainly be a name to watch. The young athlete, she's under 18. In lane 6. Meanwhile, the athlete, she has a very similar personal best to Carolina Duarte, is an over 35 masters athlete in lane 4. So a bit of a clash of the generations here. Full lineup for section 2 of the women's 100 meters. In lane 2, Margarita Machado. Lane 3, Dadiva Pedro. Lane 4, Carolina Duarte. Lane 5, Maria Poppe. Lane 6, Isabel Serras. And on lane 8 on the outside, Daniela Venda. Going well at the moment is Serras. I mentioned the young athlete, the Portuguese athlete. She has ripped through the first 150 here, and she looks to be going the best at the moment. But Maria Poppe in lane 5 in that familiar strip of Sporting Club de Portugal, green and white stripes, she is now coming on strong on this second bend. It is Poppe and Serras in lanes 4 and 5, 5 and 6, but it is Carolina Duarte also coming through well there in lane 4. So it is Duarte, Poppe and Serras, and it looks like Carolina Duarte, I mentioned the masters athlete, she is coming through strongest now over this latter half. But can she hang on? Because it looks like Poppe is trying to fight back, but Duarte is going to take this one down. Carolina Duarte, Portuguese athlete, who has a best of 56 seconds. 56.23. Let's see how close she got to that. It's a clear wind in the end there for Duarte, who clocked 55.80 in fact. So excellent run by her. Two-time national champion is Duarte. It's 54.47 her best time, so she's just about a second outside her personal best. As we go back now to the women's long jump. Try and get up to speed on exactly what's happening in that women's long jump. So it is still Evelise Vega leading. We are now in round 4. 6:22 is still the mark to beat. As we see that jump from Margarita Figueiredo, just keeps her in 5th position. 5:96 her best. So it is Vega out front ahead of Mary Elcock, who's 6:04 has her in 2nd, and then it is Sara Ferrara back in 3rd on 6 meters. But here is Margarita Figueiredo, who is in 5th position, looking to improve on her 5:96. So Figueiredo comes tearing down the runway, plants with the left foot, gets the white flag crucially. Wait and see if that is an improvement. men's. Now that we're into round 4, going in reverse order, of course, for the last 3 rounds. So the leader will go last. The leader at this point will go last throughout the rest of the competition. Men's long jump, of course, running alongside. We're in round 4 there as well, and there's Marcos Lara leading the way from Sporting Club de Portugal, the Spanish athlete who is a junior, under 20, ahead of Sami Locke and Valentin Tobok. 7:53 and 7:40, but 7:72 in the men's is the mark to beat at the moment, held by Marcos Lara. Back to the women's long jump. Rafaela Lopez, who is in 4th place at the moment on 5:97. Red flag for her. So, not an ideal start to the back end of this competition. We're about to head down the stretch. As you see, the plasticine just been reshaped. It's the old school system here. Back on track for section 2, or first section I should say, of the men's 400 meters. This is a race with plenty of quality in it, especially in lane 4, João Coelho. Sporting Club athlete, 45:73 his best, by far the quickest in this field. Full lineup. In lane 1, Antonio Moura. Lane 2, Jose Ferreira. Lane 3, Viljami Kaselainen. Lane 4, the favourite, João Coelho. Lane 5, Guillermo Fallas. Lane 6, Ricardo dos Santos. Lane 7, Rui Serras. And lane 8, the man in shot, João P. Ferreira. It'll be fascinating to see how João Coelho goes here. 44:79 second athlete his best, set the Portuguese record 3 years ago in Chengdu. He should be a class above this field, running on home turf on a decent evening. It's a warm evening, just about ideal temperatures for a sprinter. Wind might be a little bit strong, but Coelho, who was 4th at the World Indoors back in 2024, World University Games champion as well in 2023, and he is the class of this field. But a false start to open proceedings in this men's 400 meters, not ideal. The likes of Ricardo dos Santos as well be a man to watch here in lane 6. Hard to tell exactly who was the guilty party from that shot, but red card in hand. Here comes the judge. Who's going to get the bad news? The man in lane 1, is it Antonio Moura? It is indeed Antonio Moura, and he's gone, unfortunately. Ricardo dos Santos, I mentioned, in lane 6. Could well put it up to João Coelho. Dos Santos has racked up 10 national titles in total. He did set the Portuguese record back in 2018, 8 years ago now, in 45.14, which remains his personal best. 31 years old now, Dos Santos, but still running very well, and still many more years. Good running ahead of him, no doubt. Look out for him in lane 6, but the favourite is in 4 in the green and white stripes of the Sporting Club. And Coelho is out to a flying start there. He's just eating into that stagger on Guillermo Fallas in the lane outside him. But you can see Dos Santos now, the tall athlete, really getting into his running there out in lane 6. Extends past the two athletes in the lanes outside him, and it is Coelho from Dos Santos, the big two in this field. And the Portuguese, they've been teammates at many events in the past, but they're rivals on the track from different clubs this evening. And who's going to have the strength down the home straight? It is João Coelho, who looks to be the strongest. He is the classiest, the fastest man in this field, and he is proving it now, powering down the home straight. João Coelho pulling clear of Ricardo Dos Santos, hits the line to take victory. The World Athletics Continental Tour Challenger level event, Meeting Cidade de Lisboa. João Coelho reigns supreme. And no surprise to see him win. He was head and shoulders above the field on recent form. Sure, that was a very convenient competitive outing for him to spin the legs. João, no doubt, will have many bigger fish to fry this year, his eyes on many other events. But hugely impressive win there. Won the Portuguese indoor title earlier this year and helped Portugal to a national record in the 4x4 at the World Indoors. Finished 5th in that final, and of course they qualified for the World Championships by finishing 2nd in their first round at the World Relays, setting a national record for Portugal, 2:59.01, and that is fast running the men's 4x4. I think that was Coelho's individual season opener he was running there, so I'm surprised to see him go with a domestic meet, and it is a meet that essentially is at a level below what he'd be used to. An athlete of his caliber would not be competing very often on the challenger level of the Continental Tour, but it's the beauty of the Continental Tour. There is doors open for everyone. Athletes can drop down to a standard below if they want, especially if it suits geographically, as this no doubt does for Coelho, to blow some of the competitive rust off, being back in the blocks, and no doubt we'll be seeing him back at various levels of the Continental Tour, perhaps a Diamond League or two at some point throughout the season. So the paramedics just attending to someone there beside the pole vault pit. Don't know what that's in relation to. I suspect it's due to an awkward landing. Let's hope it's nothing too serious for one of our men's pole vaulters. Conditions, it's about 26 degrees in Lisbon, so you have to imagine heat isn't a particular issue for athletes who are based here. But it looks like one of the pole vaulters might have got one of the landings wrong in that men's pole vault, so let's hope he's okay. Meanwhile, back in the men's long jump. So section 2 now of the men's 400 meters. I would expect this to be the slower of the two sections. No one of the same caliber, at least not yet, in this lineup. And the full lineup is from the inside, which in this case will be lane 4, David Moura, junior athlete from Portugal, has a best of 50.1. In lane 5, Rodrigo Almeida, Portuguese athlete, who has a best of 50.6. And then in lane 6, Miguel Batista, Sporting Club de Portugal, under 23 athlete, who has a best of 53.61. And then on the outside, Tiago Martins, a senior athlete from Portugal. It was the best of 54.42. So the best athletes were weighted more towards the inner lanes here, which of course are lanes 4 and 5, and no surprise then that at halfway it is David Moura who is appearing towards the 4 here ahead of Rodrigo Almeida. They are clubmates. Moura is the younger of them. He's only a junior athlete, and the teenager is rounding into the straight here, having run a very strong first 300 meters. Can Moura hold off Almeida? It looks like he's going to do it. 50 meters left for Moura. This is where it gets really tough in a 400, but he is up to the task, and David Moura powers across the line to take victory in section 2 of the men's 400 meters.
Ora, meus amigos, eu vou-vos dizer no início deste Meeting Cidade de Lisboa, vamos para o primeiro sorteio. O primeiro a chegar aqui à tribuna e souber o número de bandas que existem aqui no complexo da SMEC. Quem conseguir acertar o número de bandas da SMEC vai-se habilitar a... Desculpa. Vai-se habilitar a receber um pequeno eletrodoméstico. Tem que vir aqui sem pisarmos toda a gente. Forma calma. Quem adivinhar?
So confirmation there for David Moura, 49.73. He's thrilled with that. Rodrigo Almeida, his Lagos clubmate, back in second, just outside 50 seconds as we look back to the men's long jump.
Número de bandas da SMEC. Nosso patrocinador tem de saber no estádio que estaciona.
We're in round 5 now of the men's long jump, and it is still Marcus Lara of Spain leading the way with 7.72, and it is Sami Locke, Irish junior, 7.53 for him, has him back in second, and then it is Valentin Toboc of Romania, 7.40, that has him in third place, but still plenty of time for things to change in that men's long jump.
Portanto, SMEC do nosso patrocinador, nosso agradecimento, obviamente, e dentro de momentos teremos mais sorteios. Portanto, fiquem connosco que a competição está ao mais alto nível.
Viste o meu salto agora?
Para além dos muitos sorteios que temos para oferecer, o atletismo está em grande falta de palmas para a vida que está tudo preparado hoje.
Marcus Lara there in the men's long jump.
Ora, a classificação, os pontos deste
7.72 has him leading the way.
no setor feminino vai dominando.
Women's long jump, which is ongoing just alongside. Evelise Vega still leading the way there. They are well into round 5. And Vega's best of 6.22 leads the way ahead of Mary Ailcock and Sarah Ferreira.
Que vão dominando a pontuação deste meeting. No setor masculino, primeiro João Correia, do Sporting de Portugal, 1186 pontos. O segundo Pedro Afonso, 1120, o atleta dos 100 metros. E na terceira posição também dos 100 metros, o Gabriel Maia, 1099 pontos.
Rafaela Santos now, ACPV.
É a pontuação que se encontra neste
It's
momento.
unfortunately a red flag.
Grandes premiados no final deste Meeting Cidade de Lisboa, no Mundial Professor Mário Muniz Pereira. No lançamento do disco, estamos então no quinto lançamento, no quinto ensaio. A Liliana Cá do Sporting continua a dominar o lançamento no terceiro ensaio.
So no improvement there.
Cavaleiro, segunda, 56,73. E na terceira posição, a Aula.
For Santos, let's see what Maria do Carmo Lucio can produce. Junior athlete currently has the best of 5.71. That has her in 6th position in this. That looked like a decent effort. Will it get the white flag?
No salto do quadro da Juno do Pedro Fernandes, homem da linha grande, neste momento a 5,10. Portanto, o único atleta
We see Margarida Figueiredo,
portanto, será ele, obviamente, o vencedor
Portuguese athlete,
do quadro, portanto, da linha grande.
will be next on the runway. Figueiredo is in 5th position.
O salto em comprimento vai demonstrando porque é a melhor atleta nacional, a Elisa Veiga, do Salto de Portugal, 16,22, vai ganhando o salto em comprimento.
That was 5.57 from Maria do Carmo Lucio in the last round. No improvement for her.
Vitória 6,00.
With official confirmation of this jump by Margarida Figueiredo.
Vamos lá, vai saltar então agora Rafael Lopes.
On her way is Rafaela Lopez, who'll be next up on the runway. She's in 4th position at the moment. Does a best of 5.97 on this day.
A nossa ajuda é sempre fundamental para a Rafaela. Ela tem até o momento 5,97, a 3 centímetros do pódio.
So back in the women's long jump. Sarah Ferreira. Let's see what she can produce here. She's currently got a best of 6 meters. This looks like a valid jump. It will be measured. Just see her dropping down there, the momentum in the last few strides, but is it an improvement for Ferreira? Meanwhile, Britain's Mary Elcock is back up. On the runway, 6:04 her best. She would need a pretty big improvement to try and catch the leader, Evelise Vega. And Sarah Ferrara has just jumped into second place, so a little bit of bad news for Mary Elcock. She just surrenders second place there while preparing to jump, and Sarah Ferreira just overhauled her, the young Portuguese athlete. So Elcock is back in third at the moment. 6:04 for her. She prepares to set off down the runway for her fifth attempt.
Olha, muito boa tarde a todos. Vamos fazer uma pequena cerimónia que fazemos todos os anos, que é a distinção dos nossos juízes. Todos os anos o Conselho de Arbitragem lança para os seus pares a eleição e a escolha dos juízes. Aqueles homens e mulheres que vocês veem aqui a atuar de azul, que para que a prova se realize, eles têm mesmo que ter vontade de sair de casa em voluntariado para...
All a bit quiet at the moment as we prepare for our next track event, but obviously plenty field event action still going on at the moment.
Juiz revelação deste ano.
Hope your Portuguese is better than mine. You might be able to understand what's being said. The Meeting Cidade de Lisboa, which is a memorial for Professor Mario Maniz Pereira. Coming to you live from Estadio Universitario de Lisboa.
O Isidro Simões é a nossa revelação deste ano. Isidro Simões, o homem que chega antes dos outros, sai quando os outros, com a missão cumprida. Nós não baixa os braços enquanto a tarefa não estiver feita.
Still plenty of action to get through over the next hour and a half or so. Things will be wrapping up at 7:15 local time. That's 8:15 Central European time with the men's 1500 meters. Women's 800 meters will precede that. And then plenty of 200 meter action before that. That's coming up from about 6:25 local time or 7:25 if you're on CET. Also be javelin action beginning at 6:25 local time, 7:25 CET. Before that on track, we'll have some sprint hurdles. 200 meter wheelchair race, along with, in the field events, some triple jump, shot put, and high jump action. So, feast of athletics to enjoy over the next 90 minutes or so. We'll take you through the coverage from Meeting Cidade de Lisboa.
É o operador de fotofinish, é juiz e já é juiz há algum tempo. Tem apenas 14 anos. Não. Ele está na faculdade a tirar a educação física e, além de grande juiz, está aqui também para ser professor de educação física. Nós por cá temos também o juiz do ano da Associação de Atletismo de Lisboa. É Jesus, mas não é da minha família. É a Elizabeth Juiz. Elizabeth Jesus é a juiz do ano. Aqui também conosco, com muita dedicação, numa altura difícil do juizamento, e estamos sempre a recordar. Há 10 anos tínhamos 30, hoje temos 130 juízes. Hoje aqui, entre a pista 1 e a pista 2, estão 60 juízes e 30 voluntários. Por fim, ia chamar aquele que é, sem dúvida, o nosso juiz de referência nacional, o Dr. José Salcedo. O Dr. Jorge Salcedo é aquele juiz internacional que nos deixa orgulhosos de fazer ajuizamento. Foi e será um exemplo para toda a malta de azul e que merece um respeito e uma consideração do tamanho do mundo de todos os atletas, treinadores e dirigentes. Ao Jorge Salcedo também uma grande salva de palmas. Então agora, o próprio Dr. Jorge Salcedo tem aqui na Associação de Atletismo de Lisboa um prémio para o juiz que é referência ao longo do processo. Esse juiz chama-se Silvestre Machado. É o juiz que recebe o prémio Jorge Salcedo. Silvestre Machado. Agora ia chamar também para a fotografia a pessoa que neste momento está também com o Conselho de Arbitragem, a Michel Correia. Ia chamar aqui a Michel Correia para tirar uma fotografia. Põe-se aqui à frente. Deixar ficar o Silvestre e o Jorge Salcedo no meio. Ponham-se dois de cada lado. Ia chamar também a Michel para uma fotografia. E agora sim, a nossa missão está cumprida, que é também no evento como o Meeting do Mário Muniz Pereira, fazermos uma referência e uma consideração especial ao juiz. Obrigado a vocês.
So back, focus on the track for the men's long jump. And unfortunately a foul there. Andre Pimenta stays in 4th place. Currently is a best of 7:34. We are in round 5. And of course going in reverse order in terms of the placings at halfway, so it will be Valentin Taboc who is next on the runway. You can see there by the way those flags are blowing, it is quite windy, so it's no surprise really to see plenty of athletes fouling out. Next on the runway will be Valentin Taboc with the backwards cap. He competes for Stoia Bucharest. He has won 4 national titles in total in Romania. Personal best of 8:03 outdoors. Looks like he was behind the board. No, he must have been in front of the board there. Gets the red flag, so no improvement for Taboc. He stays in 3rd place on 7:40.
Barra fora, 7,89, o aumento para Portugal vai ganhar na sub-20.
Here is Sammy Locke, who is listed as Irish in official entries, but I'm quite certain he's representing Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The youngster. He's just a teenager. He carefully steps out of that pit after landing, making sure he's not leaving any dent. I think that's a good sign. He's probably happy with that jump. As you can see, he turns around, has a look across, likes where that has landed. Has a personal best of 7:45 as Locke. In fact, he's got a personal best tonight, 7:53 his personal or his mark tonight. But fortunately the results don't quite have the wind readings beside them, so I'm not sure if that was a wind legal. Oh no, 7:53. It was in fact a wind legal jump. So a new personal best, it looks like, for the teenager Sammy Locke, which currently has him in second position. But in round 5, it's no improvement. 7:39 he jumps there. So Marcus Lara, Spanish junior, still out front. As we look back to the men's pole vault. Just see a run through there. But the bar currently, results aren't updating for me, unfortunately, so tricky to fully tell you what's going on, but I can tell you that the bar has gone well beyond 5 meters anyway. So back over at the women's long jump meanwhile. Rafaela Santos, who is down in 7th position at the moment. The under 23 athlete from Portugal. Her best of 5:68 at the moment. And we're into round 6 now. So it's last chance saloon for Santos and everyone else to improve their current position. The way is still being led by Evelise Vega with 6:22 ahead of Mary Elcock in with 6:07, and then it is Sarah Ferrara back in 3rd with 6:06. So Vega, Elcock and Ferreira are the top 3 at the moment. Vega and Elcock, both senior athletes. Ferreira, under 18. And this lady, Santos, an under 23 athlete, 5:68, and she's just waiting for the green light to take off down that runway. So quite long delays here between jumps as the measurements get sorted. Was a foul in round 5 for Evelise Vega, current leader on 6:22, and it's been a long old wait as the pit gets raked again and again by the looks of things for Rafaela Santos, who has spent a good 5 minutes or so standing there waiting for permission to land, but the runway is now clear and it looks like Rafaela Santos is ready to let rip. The under 23 athlete from Portugal, 5:68 her best so far. Let's see if she can improve it here in the final round. Pretty good on the board from this angle, but there's frustration there, and it looks like she's walking almost almost out the back of the pit there. I think she'll have to been very careful there because it looked like she was walking back into the pit a bit. And of course, officials are instructed to measure from the furthest point back in the pit. Let's see what that was from Rafaela Santos in round 6 to bring her competition to a close. Meanwhile, the men's pole vault is still ongoing. And the bar is currently at 520. It might have actually gone up to 525 now. Pedro Fernandez had one failure at 520, and it looks like he's passed at 520. And meanwhile, one failure as well for Luis Probstle, Germany. Likes of Pedro Boireau holding fire for more trickier heights. As we see the leader in the women's long jump, Evelisa Vega, 6:22, the mark for the others to beat. She has one jump remaining. So do most of the others.
Ele disse não queria, ele disse não queria. Ele disse não queria. Olha, Carminho foi embora.
So more delays it looks like in that women's long jump where Evelise Vega leads the way. It was 5:43 in the final round for Rafaela Santos, so no improvement for her. Next up on track will be Maria do Carmo Lucio. Sounds like we're going to have a presentation first in the infield. And it is for that women's discus, which unfortunately we didn't see any of really, but Liliana Ka takes the victory with 62.72 ahead of Denia Caballero, 56.73 in second, and Eni Aula back in third, 46.38 for Aula. There is Denia Caballero. Was Maria do Carmo Lucio with her final attempt, or in fact it may have been Margarita Figueiredo. I think the Carmo Lucio passed her final attempt, so we were looking at Margarita Figueiredo with her final attempt, and that was 5:80. It's just come through as, so no improvement there for Figueiredo. She will finish 5th, do Carmo Lucio 6th, Santos in 7th. The focus now turns to the top 4 in that women's long jump. Rafaela Lopez will be next on track. So Rafaela Lopez with her 6th and final attempt there in the women's long jump. Next up it will be Sara Ferreira, followed by Mary Elcock, and then Evelise Vega. Back to the men's pole vault. And the bar is is currently at 5:40, so we saw clearance there from Pedro Barro, Portuguese athlete. That was his first jump at a competition. And just looking at some of the other athletes who have bowed out. The likes of Pedro Fernandez got over 5:10, but then after one failure passed at 5:20, so I don't know if he's going to re-enter the competition, or it looks like he might have retired. And the likes of Louis Probstle of Germany went over 5:20 as a third attempt. He has passed every height up to 5:40, so we'll see if he re-enters the competition at 5:40 as we see the field being introduced.
E o primeiro classificado, representando a seleção de Portugal, 45-64, João Pedro.
For the men's shot put, it was the field we were looking at there. As we see Louis Probst. As you see, went over 5:20 at the third attempt. And first time failure there at 5:40.
Apresentação do lançamento do peso
Look
feminino.
at that failure there by Probstile.
Semana de Portugal, Mariana Câmara. Apresentando o grupo Eirense, Inês Carreira. Nação 90. Nação 169, representando a Semana de Portugal, Darlene Quinta. 41, representando a Associação Jardim da Serra, Francilene Serra. Nação 232, representando a Semana de Portugal, Margarida Pinto. Nação 117, representando o João Iviane Monte Verde. Nação 111, representando a Semana de Portugal, Jéssica Barreira. Nação 105.
Unfortunately, a foul there in the sixth and final round of that women's long jump.
Atletas masculinos. Atleta finlandês. Nação 167, Mika.
Do some introductions for this men's shot put. Getting underway very soon. Tell you a bit more about those men once that's ongoing. We are heading towards the conclusion in the women's long jump. And we have had quite the upset in that women's long jump in the final round. Mary Elcock has jumped to the lead, 6:22 for Elcock, which is the exact same leading jump as her rival Evelise Vega. However, going on to count back, Elcock has the better of the second jumps with 6:07, so she moves into the lead ahead of Evelise Vega in that women's long jump. Vega will have one jump to try and snatch victory back. But meanwhile, the women's shot put.
Atleta brasileiro Cleuton Siqueira. Nação 67 do grupo de cavadas de Miguel Coelho. Nação 209 do Sport.
So that was Mariana Camara. The best of 14:66. Of course, the likes of Eliana Bandeira of Portugal are in here, so the Portuguese athlete has a best of 18:95. So the likes of Camara will certainly be up against it to try and match that kind of throwing.
Atenção dos 110 metros barreiras.
So next up is Ines Carreira,
Na pista
Portuguese athlete.
do São Portugal, Pedro Vieira. Pista número 2, do São Benfica, Cizinho Abris. Pista número 3, da Nigéria, Nandi Ovazin. Pista número 4, Marcos Herrera. Pista número 5, do Clube de Viana, Guzmani Jumbo. Pista número 6, do São Portugal, Abdial Larinaga. Pista número 7.
So Ines Carreira into the circle as a best of 11.74.
Boa prova. Atenção à
Let's see what she can produce here in round 1. Meanwhile, looking back to the track, and it really is all go. They don't give you much of a build-up for the track events, but it is the men's 110 meter hurdles. And it looks like we're going to have just one men's race and one women's race. So the men's 110 meter hurdles: lane 1, Pedro Vieira; lane 2, Cicinio Ambris; lane 3, Ndamni Onwadetse; lane 4, Marcos Herrera; lane 5 is Usamani Jumo; lane 6 is empty; lane 7 is Sidrak Afawork; and lane 8, Tiago Bento. Quickest man in the field, look towards lane 4, that is Marcos Herrera of Colombia, and it is Herrera who is leading at the moment, but Ambris going very well there in lane 2 as well, the Portuguese under-23 athlete. It's between these two at the moment as they head over that final barrier, and we could barely see them as they come up towards the finish, but it looks like it was Cicinio Ambris who took victory. Just about ahead of Marcos Herrera there from Colombia. As we see Bernardo Cunha. Sorry, Marcos Herrera is from Ecuador, not Colombia. And we see there Cicinio Ambris. A brilliant performance out of that inner lane. Looks like 13.69 it is, yes, confirmed there for Cicinio Ambris. It's a huge performance by him, a breakthrough performance, beats Marcos Herrera of Ecuador. And then it is Namdi Onwaetse back in third, 14.16 for the Nigerian, to round out the top 3 in that men's 110 meter hurdles. Brilliant performance that was. By Ambris, Cicinio Ambris. And we have action ongoing in the men's high jump. A field event action to keep an eye on here. We'll try to do our best as it plays out. As we see Andrea Pimenta in the men's long jump. Pimenta is down in 4th place at the moment with 6.734. We are in round 6. So these are crucial final jumps. Marcos Lara of Spain, however, has gone out to 8 meters there in round 5. We unfortunately missed that jump from Lara, but that is a brilliant, brilliant jump by him. As we see the athletes just getting their steps right. Marcos Lara, he's just 18 years old. And he has a long jump best of 8.11, which he jumped just last weekend in Salamanca. As we see Pedro Bordo in the men's pole vault.
Meninas, atrás de mim. Cuidado aí.
Eles vão saltar.
There is Valentin Tobok of Romania, and that is a foul, unfortunately, for him. Meanwhile, it is just Boireau against himself in that pole vault, because Luis Probstile of Germany has bowed out after third time failure at 5:40. He finishes second. It is Pedro Fernandez back in third, but Pedro Boireau is going to be the winner of that men's pole vault, having gone over 5:40 at the first attempt, and indeed 5:60. Question now is how high can Boireau go, as we see confirmation of the result in that men's discus. Edu Jose Lima taking victory with 53.50 ahead of Andrea Facina and Jorge Grave. One man down from the full lineup, and you can see the volunteers and officials there just doing all the hard yards and the heavy lifting with those hurdles, and fair play to them. Just adjusting the heights down to the women's heights and making sure they're on the right check mark on the track. I'm surprised how often it happens even at higher level events. Sometimes when those hurdles can be put on the wrong markers and chaos ensues. But in the men's high jump, let's have a little look at how things are progressing.
Segundo classificado, primeiro spot aqui em Portugal, com a marca de 49,59, André Facina.
There is our leader in that men's long jump, Marcus Lara of Spain, the 18-year-old who is just in fantastic form of late. Over 8 meters again tonight to take victory, having jumped 8:11, a wind legal personal best in Salamanca last weekend. He really is a name for the future. Anyone who's jumping well over 8 meters at the age of 18, you know, could truly be a champion at the very highest levels one day. Bar is at 179, it looks like, in that men's high jump. Some of the leading athletes in that are Diogo Oliveira, who's a 2:12 jumper at his best. The likes of Pedro Correa, 2:08. Nelson Pinto is also in here as well. He's a 2:09 jumper. And indeed Filipa Guerrero, 2:06. So we'll keep an eye on that as it plays out. Next up on track, it will be the women's 100-meter hurdles. After that, on track, will be the 200 meters final.
É o primeiro?
Não, é o terceiro.
Number of those races. We'll have some javelin action to look forward to as well, and then para 400 meter race, followed by the 800 meters and 1500 meters.
As meninas já estão lá.
Já estão, já deram. Não deram.
Eu pedi à Michelle.
Mas o Michel.
As we look back at Marti Bernat there, the Spanish under-23 athlete. Bar at 179 in that men's high jump. Still relatively facile height for men of this caliber.
For me, back in I don't have many abroad left. I need to buy some.
Meanwhile, it's Sanko Arnaudov,
How about you?
Sporting Club de Portugal.
Where? Malaga.
By far the most accomplished thrower in this field, 21.56.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Arnaudov. What can he produce here? And look at that technique, is just masterful compared to the less professional or non-professional athletes who he's around. But Arnaudov sends that flying out there.
Just make sure you have shoes on for the podium, okay? Yeah.
So we'll certainly expect that to put the Portuguese 34-year-old into the lead. It's been 10 years since he won a European bronze medal, Arnaudov.
2 minutos, disseste-me tu.
His best setting time, a Portuguese record of 21:56 back in 2017, but he has been in good form as well in more recent years as he passes through towards his mid-30s. 1864 already this year. And anything around the 19-meter mark would certainly probably be good enough for victory this evening, though Mika Latonen might have something to say about that. Of Finland, who is around 1870. Here is Mariana Camara, under 23 athlete from Sporting Club.
Aí, tá tudo bem, não é? Força.
And a reminder that the next race on track will be the women's 100-meter hurdles. That will be upcoming momentarily. But we'll first give you a look at this opening throw in the women's shot put by Mariana Camara. Looks to have got great power behind that, really put her body behind it. Not much of a reaction either way, and in the second round, and that's why it is a foul, so no joy there for Camara. Yeah, just far too far forward there. Steps out over the front of the circle.
Ora, a apresentação dos 100 metros, barreiras femininos.
And now it's looks like our women's sprint hurdlers are almost ready, as you see Pedro Boiro first though. He went over 560 at the first time of asking, and he just has a run through there.
Ora, não foi desta, vamos ver se tem então mais duas tentativas. Vamos então para a apresentação dos 100 metros barreiras. Na pista número 1, apresentação Fundação Salesianos Maria do Carmúcio. Pista número 2, do Grupo Sport Marítimo Maria.
As we see Ardelene Binta, under 18 athlete from Sporting.
Do Brasil, Vitória Alves. Pista número 5, do Great Britain.
Two of this women's shot put.
Pista número 6, do Brasil, Evelyn Brito. Pista número 7.
Back on track for the women's 100 meters hurdles.
Alcide Gomes. Sensação desta prova, atenção à partida.
Aqui vocês os três, venham.
First of the truly short races. 8 athletes going to the line for the women's 100-meter hurdles. Lane 1, Maria de Carmo Lucio. Fresh from the long jump. Lane 2, Mariana Tavares. Lane 3, Jessica Barrera. Lane 4, Victoria Alves. Lane 5, Jenna Blundell. Lane 6, Adelaide Brito. Lane 7, Laura Vacondeos. And Lane 8, Alzira Gomez. The athlete to watch, we think, should be in lane 4, Victoria Alves of Brazil. Beside her in 5, Jenna Blundell of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Should also be firmly in contention as a low 13-second athlete, but Alves in 4 looks the athlete to beat. And Alves is off to a flying start. Jessica Barrera going very well there at the moment alongside her. It is between Barrera and Alves at the moment, but now Alves' class is just beginning to tell, and I think she's just about going to hold on here, but it is very close. Victoria Alves, the Brazilian, takes victory ahead of Jessica Barrera, and it was quite the gap back to those in 3rd and 4th. fascinating to see that result when it comes through, because that looked like a huge performance back in second. We knew all about the class of Alves, the Brazilian. He's 28 now, former athlete of Kansas State University, but Alves, of course, is a 12:68 national record holder for Brazil. That was set just last week, or just a couple of weeks ago, in Lima in Peru. And there is confirmation. 12:89 for Alves, another brilliant run. And Jessica Barrera, that's a big breakthrough for her in second. 13 flat. It's a huge run for Barrera. You can see there's plenty of emotion on that face. Jessica Barrera, three-time national champion, the 29-year-old. Barrera's previous best was 13:26, so we'll check the wind on that. I don't think it was on the official results. As we see Pedro Boiro here, second attempt for the Portuguese star, who has the pole vault won, but it's an unsuccessful attempt for him. So one last try for him. 5:84, in fact it is. Unfortunate news from the women's 100-meter hurdles that the wind reading was 2.5 meters per second, so Jessica Barrera unfortunately denied a massive personal best there. Certainly would still have been a personal best even in still conditions, or certainly a 1 or 2 meters per second headwind or tailwind. But still a brilliant run by Jessica Barrera in second. Victoria Alves, though, 12:89 takes the victory. As I mentioned, 2.5 meters per second tailwind.
O meu treinador prefere 11, eu para mim salta 13, mas ele prefere 11. E eu não sei se o Bruno prefere 13. Como é que tu vês?
Encaixar, mete o segundo na areia.
Feeling like a podium selfie. They're all the rage these days.
Como é que tu vai de novo?
Mete 11.
Qualquer coisa quando fores
Tá bem. Não, desculpa, é teu. Desculpa.
Ah, está aqui. Bruno, preferes 13 ou 11?
Cuidado com a marca.
Eu sei.
Pode ser 11. Não tem mal para ti, não encontro.
Então fazemos aqui.
Então fica 9 e 11, ok. Quem é que está com as tábuas?
So we have about 1 more hour of action left from the Meeting Cidade de Lisbon for 2026, a World Athletics Continental Tour Challenger level meeting. It certainly has a sprinkling of Portuguese stars in there. And for those wondering what's coming up over the next hour, we're going to have javelin action, plenty other field event action ongoing, the shot put as well, and indeed high jump. And then on the track, it's going to be the women's 200 meters coming up in about 5 minutes time. A few different sections of that. Then it's going to be the men's 200 meters. Then we have a wheelchair race over 400 meters. And then we're rounding things off with a couple of middle distance races at 7:05 p.m. local time. Women's 800 meters, and then the men's 1500 meters, rounding things off at 7:15 local time. 8:15 if you're in Central Europe, CET.
Segunda classificada, liderando o Campeonato de Portugal com marca de 16:22. Evelise Veiga.
There is presentation for that women's long jump. Mary Elcock coming from behind, 6:22 in that final round. to overhaul Evelise Vega and take victory on countback. Well done to the athlete from the Woodford Green in Essex club. And she joins her compatriots from Portugal on that top state of the podium for that women's long jump. A nail biter it was all the way down to the finish, but as you can see from that drone shot, women's 200 meters will be next up on track. And there are the athletes for the first section. Looks like we're just going to have one section for women and one for men. No, we actually scrapped that. We have a second section for women, but this is the first of the women's sections. And then we'll be having the sole men's race, followed by section 2 of the women's 200 meters. But this opening heat, as I mentioned in the sprints, this will almost certainly be the quicker heat. The athletes with the quicker personal best, the highest caliber. And 8 of them will be going to the line. Doesn't look like our cameraman's doing lineups, so I'll give you the full lineup from lane 1. Mostly Portuguese athletes, but on the inside it's Diana Indique, junior athlete from Portugal, has the best at 24.70. Ella Tobin is going in lane 2, 24.65. Joanna Diaz in lane 3. In 4, Nadia Cruz. Lane 5, Ngoye Akamabi. Lane 6, Daniela Campigotto. Lane 7, Goreta Semedo. And lane 8, Lourdes Oliveira of Portugal, of course.
Apresentação dos 200 metros femininos. Pista número 1, apresentação para Portugal, Diane Indique. Pista número 2.
Who's the favourite?
Ela Tobin.
She'll be going in lane 5, Goyo Akamabi,
Pista número 4,
athlete from Congo. She's 32. See there in lane 7, that's Goreti Semedo. He's an Olympian for Sao Tome and Principe. But Natasha Ngoye, 23:01, she has run her best. Natasha Ngoye Akamabi. She will go in lane 5. There might not be too much between a lot of these athletes. We'll find out. The full lineup from the inside. Lane 1, Indeke. Lane 2, Tobin. Lane 3, Diaz. Lane 4, Cruz. Lane 5, Akamabi. Lane 6, Campigotto. Lane 7, Semedo. And lane 8, Oliveira. And it looks like Semedo's got off to a brilliant start there out in lane 7, but Akamabi going well now in 5. She has separated herself from the pack, and she has separated herself from everyone now with about 60 metres to run. It is Akamabi pulling clear. Semedo going well there out in 7 as well. She's going to take the runner-up position, but no doubt about the winner. It is Natasha Ngoye Akamabi. Powers across the line there to take victory in the first section of the women's 200 metres. 22.79 on the clock there. It looks like a wind. 22.88 has now been changed to for the Congolese athlete, and you can see there 3.3 the wind reading, and Semedo 23.26 for her back in second. That was as good a run as it looked. And then it was the Brazilian Campigotto, Daniela Campigotto, 23.67 for third. There's a finger in the air for Akamabi, 22.88, albeit windy. That is fast running by her. She takes victory at the Meeting Cidade de Lisbon 2026. So section 2 of the women's 200 meters looks like it's actually going to be up next. And we will have 7 athletes going to the line here. And as I mentioned, it would be quite a surprise if any of them were threatening the 23-second mark, as we saw in that opening heat from Natasha Ngoye Akamabi. So we're also looking forward to some javelin action. Not a big field in the respective javelin competitions. 3 in the women's event, 6 in the men's. But that will now be getting underway presently. And it should proceed pretty swiftly. More presentations to get through first though.
Tá. Bia.
So, back on track for section 2 of the women's 200 meters. They are your 7 athletes going to the line for this one. Looks like lane 7, Jessica Silva, is empty. Due to be Jessica Silva, I should say. But in lane 8 is the Portuguese junior athlete Beatriz Alves, best of 25:39. Moving from outside to in then, lane 6, Joana Pestana, Sporting Club de Portugal, under 23 athlete. Lane 5, Raquel Silva, under 23 athlete from Portugal. Lane 4, Mariana Tavares, also an under 23 athlete from Portugal. Lane 3, Laura Nunes, Sporting Club de Portugal. She's an under 18 athlete. And then on the inside, lane 2, it is Raisa Diaz of Brazil. She's a under 20 athlete. Look out for Joana Pestana in lane 6 of Sporting Club de Portugal. Be expected to go well here, but it is quite even there. Perhaps in lane 5 it's Raquel Silva who's run a very strong bend there. It is Silva out in 5 and Pestana alongside her in 6, and also going well up the inside there is Diaz. It's going to be very close between these 3. Tough to call who's got it at the moment. It looks like Joana Pestana perhaps in 6, just shaded it just about from Raisa Diaz on the inside, the Brazilian. It was Joana Pestana, the under 23 athlete from Portugal, Sporting Club athlete, who has just about taken victory. Very close between them though. You can see there just tying up a little on the inside was Diaz. But great contest for section 2 of that women's 200 meters.
Ora, mais concurso, mais prémio para distribuir. Senhoras e senhores.
So the women's 200 meters has reached its conclusion, and 24.73 it is there, confirmed for Joana Pestana. Raisa Diaz in second, 24.78, and Raquel Silva 24.93 back in third. Of course, those times will not challenge for overall victory. That goes to Jessica Goyo Akamabi. She takes victory with 22.88. Then it will be Goreta Semedo back in second, 23.26, and then Daniela Campegiotto of Brazil, 23.67. She takes third place overall. And the wind in that second heat just coming in there at 1.2. So it is at least a wind legal times across the board for those who went in the second section. Wasn't that way for those in section 1, 3.3 the wind there. Back to the men's shot put. In that men's shot put, no surprise to see Sanko Arnaudoff leading the way, the Portuguese athlete, 18.43. I mentioned that the Finnish athlete Mika Latonen was going to be his biggest danger. That's proving to be the case, 17.29 for Latonen. He is in second, 2 rounds complete, and then back in third it is Daniel Santiago of Portugal. Meanwhile, in the men's high jump, bar is at 194. 2 athletes have gone clear so far, Diogo Oliveira and Pedro Correa. Both first time clearances. Meanwhile, Francisco Lima, Marty Bernat, and this man, Nelson Pinto, all taking their second attempt. So a second time failure on the board there for Pinto. He'll have one last try at 194. Confirmation there for Pinto. Bernat or Lima will be next up. It looks like it's going to be Bernat. No, in fact it's Lima. Francisco Lima of Portugal is a senior athlete. Second try for him. Just about knocks it off there. Close attempt though. Good attempt. 194. One last try for Lima awaits. Next up will be Marty Bernat. As we watch a replay of that second time failure. Very good technique there from Lima. Just didn't quite have the power getting them up high enough. As we look to the men's shot put now. But we're straight back over to the high jump because Marty Bernat is about to make his second attempt at 194. And he's got it. Well done. Marty Bernat goes clear, second time of asking, at 194. And he joins Pedro Correa and Diogo Oliveira at the next height, which I think will be 199. Meanwhile, in that shot put that I mentioned, we are into the third round, and Sanko Arnaudoff very much still in command. He's yet to take his third attempt, but it was a foul by his chief rival Mika Latonen, who has a best at the halfway mark. 3 down, 3 to go of 17.29. Both of them are well clear of the third placer at the moment, Tomas Rodrigues of Portugal, 15.71, but Arnaudoff in firm command, the Portuguese veteran, 18.43. As we go back to the men's high jump, And that was a third time clearance there by Francisco Lima. So he pulled it out of the fire with the pressure on. Said his second attempt was a good one, but he certainly proved it there. But now it's time to go back to the track for section 2 of the women's 200 meters. In lane 1, Duarte Amarin. Lane 2, Usamane Balde. Lane 3, Tauler Zati. Sorry, I'm looking at the men's lineup there, which is still to come. So, section 2 of the women's 200 meters. Lane 2, Raisa Diaz. Lane 3, Laura Nunes. Lane 4, Mariana Tavares. Lane 5, Raquel Silva. Lane 6, Joanna Pestana. Lane 7, Jessica Silva. And lane 8, Beatriz Alves. And at the moment, it looks like out in lane 5 there, it's Raquel Silva going very strongly at the moment. And in fact, yes, sorry, this is the men's race. Pedro Afonso, it is who's pulling clear there in lane 5. It is Afonso from Pereira. It was Pedro Afonso, the junior athlete from Portugal, just ahead of David Pereira. And apologies for the error there early on. What confused me massively was that the timetable had the second section of the women's 200 meters up first, and then the actual results schedule or the start list had the men's up first, so I was reading them the wrong way around and then looking at the start list a little bit too long as the race went on. But we got there in the end, and the man who got there in the end, Pedro Afonso, taking victory in that men's 200 meters. There is confirmation, 2025 as well. That's a fast time for Afonso. I'm guessing it was quite windy. You can see the way the wind is buffeting the hair of the official behind there. And indeed the measuring tape. It's quite strong in Lisbon, and indeed the accreditation around Afonso's neck there. But it's no doubt it was windy, but it was a brilliant performance there by Pedro Afonso. Takes victory ahead of David Pereira. As we see Arnadoff letting rip in round 3 of the men's shot put in the background, and that is a valid throw for Arnadoff, who is in command. And we see another clearance in the men's high jump. So Afonso 2025, and that is quite annoying for Afonso because the wind reading has come through at 2.3 meters per second. So Afonso loved a 2.0 win there. Wasn't to be for the 19-year-old, who of course won silver at the European Under-20s last year. His previous best for 200 meters was 20.66. So 2025 this evening, and it was just a 2.3 win, so just 0.3 of a second lighter on that wind, and Pedro Afonso would have been looking at a massive time. Probably even with the loss of the bit of tailwind to make it legal, you're still talking something around the 20.3 mark, perhaps just slightly under. But that is a massive breakthrough performance either way for Pedro Afonso, the 19-year-old Portuguese athlete who truly does look to have a very bright future ahead.
Você não traz isso mais.
Up on track, it's going to be a head-to-head duel in the men's wheelchair 400 meters. And that duel will be between Guillermo Alves in lane 4 and Rafael Neto in lane 6. Neto will be the heavy favourite here. He's gone around the lap of the track in 50 seconds. Alves considerably down on that. So it should be a pretty straightforward challenge here for Rafael Neto. We'll see just how quick he can go.
Salto feminino. Com o salto 147, representando o salto do Portugal, Tatiana Pereira. Com o salto 224, representando o salto do Clube de Portugal, Letícia Melo. Com o salto 140, representando o salto do Portugal, Naizina Varela. Com o salto 158, representando o salto de Lisboa e Benfica, Beatriz Padenho. Dorsal 31, representando a seleção salesiana, Sofia Quintino. Dorsal 204, representando a seleção de Portugal, Gabriel Culi. E o regresso, Nelson Évora. O grande histórico, bem-vindo, campeão. Dorsal 63, representando o clube de futebol dos Rolenses, Bruno Gaspar.
And you'll see a very familiar face there. Third from the left, none other than Nelson Évora, a legend of Portuguese athletics. He's 42 now. His best days understandably behind him. The men and women will be sharing that runway for the upcoming triple jump. And Évora, as I mentioned, 42 years old, coached by Ivan Pedroso to so many great achievements. Of course, Olympic glory in Beijing 2008, world title in Osaka 2007, silver medal at the World Championships 2009, a couple of bronzes as well as recently as 2017, 2015. But he's achieved so much: 2 European indoor titles, 1 European outdoor title, 2 World University Games, and still jumping quite well into his 40s, Nelson Évora. So it'll be fascinating to see how he fares this evening. Back to the track.
Na segunda posição, o Sport Lisboa Benfica, Carolina Ventura, 1116 pontos. E na primeira posição, Guilherme Casa, Sport Clube de Portugal, 1122 pontos. No setor masculino, os 3 primeiros, houve aqui uma inversão. O Pedro Afonso passou para o terceiro lugar a 1128 pontos. O João Coelho, do Sport de Portugal, 1136. E neste momento quem vai liderando a lista, o Marcos Lara, do Sport de Portugal,
Correct stagger.
38 pontos.
As we see presentation for this men's 200 meters that we just watched. But Évora, from what I can see, has not had a listed result since 2023, when he jumped 1561 in Huelva. Did go over 7 meters in the long jump, but he's competed very, very sparingly in recent years. But he has turned out for various competitions. He's done a few national championships. While obviously his best days are behind him, and his most serious jumping days are long behind him, it's great to see him still out there, still doing it. There's so much to be gained from just being part of the sport and the good health, physical and mental, that comes from being in a regular routine of training. Nelson Évora, it'll be interesting to see how he goes in the triple jump tonight, but that he's out there at all and certainly no doubt enjoying it is what matters most.
E a vencedora, representando o Sport Lisboa Benfica, 2025, Pedro Afonso. Parabéns.
So plenty of action upcoming in the field, but just 3 races left, it looks like, on the track. First of those will be the wheelchair 400 meters, which, as I mentioned, will be a head-to-head clash between Guillermo Alves and Rafael Neto. Neto much the stronger based on previous results. He goes in lane 6. Alves will go in lane 4. The men awaiting the starter's command. As we see Eliana Bandera over 18 meters there in the women's shot put. Men's shot put also ongoing, as indeed the triple jump for both genders is now underway. And we'll focus on the action on the track, and once again just quite long delays at times in getting these races off. Not sure what exactly the issue is.
Ora, meus amigos, isto não há tempo a perder e, obviamente, a classificação vai tocando, vai rodando. Temos então a terceira posição, Ngoy Akamapi.
Still time though for Neto there to pose for some pictures on the start line, so good to see he's in relaxed mood. Before things get underway, we'll try and bring you a bit more of this men's shot put momentarily. The moment in the javelin, João Fernandes leads the way there on the men's side. 68 meters and 9 centimeters. Mariana Moraes leads the way in the women's with 51, heading towards the halfway mark.
Pista número 4 da seção JS do Porto, o Guilherme Alves.
Women's shot put, get you up to speed on that at the halfway mark. Eliana Bandera leads with 18:03. Meanwhile, the men's shot put, Sanko Arnaudoff, 18:43 in that first round. That has been untouched ever since. We're now midway through the 4th round. He is out in front ahead of Mika Latunen of Finland. His best of 17:29 has him just over a metre behind. And then back in third, it's Daniel Santiago of Portugal. We still await the start somehow in this men's wheelchair 400 meters, but it looks like we're about to get moving now. Guillermo Alves in lane 4, Rafael Neto in lane 6. There we are, the green card. Guessing will have something to do with the timing equipment or the starting equipment. Some officials there just rummaging that starter's table. Might be related to the delay we're experiencing, but hopefully these men can get underway soon because they've been sat there motionless for quite a bit of time on the start line. Athletes generally like to be active as much as possible before it is go time. They have been patiently waiting and passing by these minutes while the officials just iron out the little kinks. And no doubt we'll soon be ready to get underway as some of the officials' papers go flying. Heavy winds in Lisbon this evening, but all start lists retrieved, and Guillermo Alves and Rafael Neto ready to roll on their respective start lines for this men's wheelchair 400 meters. And again, the green card is shown. A touch unnecessarily, you might say, but the two athletes know they've not false started and all is well, but some issues persist with the timing, electronic timing system. But Guillermo Alves and Rafael Neto certainly being very patient. Neto there just putting his head down, getting focused on what's ahead. He should have the winning of this comfortably enough, but we'll soon find out. And are we now ready to go? Thumbs up, followed by a wag of the finger that suggests all is not quite ready to go. But we won't try and guess from afar as we await the start of this men's wheelchair 400 meter race. So, starter looks like he's adopting quite an old school position there, perhaps just taking matters into his own hands in terms of the way that timing system has started. But as we can see, it has started successfully. That clock is ticking, and Rafael Neto, no surprises here. He has gone blasting through that first 100 meters. He said his personal best, of course, is about 20 seconds, over 20 seconds better than Alves for the 400 meters. Rafael Neto is a truly world-class operator in this discipline, and he is proving it here. He passes through 200 meters with, look at that, it's about a 50 meter advantage over Guillermo Alves. Rafael Neto, on a beautiful evening in Lisbon, is powering around this last bend. I'll just shift the steering brake there and pour everything he has down this home straight. He's not so much racing against Alves, he's racing against himself. And that clock, let's see how quick he can go. Rafael Neto comes home with much distance to spare. It's going to be Guillermo Alves then, of course, taking second place. There he is across the line. And we'll get confirmation of the times as soon as we have them.
Ora, mais concurso, isto não há tempo a perder. A primeira pessoa que venha aqui à tribuna que diga o nome dos 4 modelos do nosso patrocinador Toyota que emprestou a esta organização. O nome dos 4, será que é um carro que vamos oferecer? Querem ver? Querem ver que agora fazer aqui um pandemónio? Os 4 modelos da Toyota.
Leticia Oromelo of Brazil.
Toyota que emprestou gentilmente aqui a organização. Os 4 modelos.
She's a 13:33 athlete at her best. Gets the white flag there.
Ora, jogo praticamente com 19 horas. Estamos então praticamente no término deste meeting internacional. Faltando os 800, faltando os 1500 metros. E obviamente teremos as cerimónias protocolares que ainda faltam à medida que os...
Here is Nicira Varela, junior athlete from Portugal. 12:56 her best for the triple jump.
No.
Ora, segundo classificado,
So confirmation of that men's wheelchair 400 meters. 52:78 it was for Rafael Neto and Guillermo Alves. 65:69 for second place. In the triple jump then, opening round, Leticia Oro Mello, 13:06, leads from Tatiana Pereira. 13:06 to 12:52.
escalera de rodas. E na primeira posição, Rafael Neto.
In the men's shot put, Sanko Arnadov leads the way. Heading into round 5, it's As We Were. 18:43, he leads.
Ora, os nossos parabéns e as palmas que ainda não ouvi, meus amigos. Ainda não ouvi palmas para esta cerimónia.
That's Sofia Quintino in the women's triple jump.
Parabéns. Ora, está difícil até o momento, ainda ninguém conseguiu adivinhar os 4 modelos da Toyota. Meus amigos, a inteligência artificial diz tudo. Vão a inteligência artificial, o que é que estou à espera? Meus amigos, está na inteligência artificial.
In the women's shot put, Eliana Bandera leads the way. 18:03 ahead of Francis Lane Serra. 14:62 in second, and 14:03 for Mariana Camara has her back in third. And here is the man, the myth, the legend, Nelson Avora, former Olympic champion, world champion, European champion. He's done it all, Nelson Avora. A true icon of Portuguese athletics. And aged 42, haven't seen him compete in a number of years, but this will be an interesting case study to see what he can produce here. And he starts off down the runway, but I think there was another athlete just setting up their mark at that moment. So he didn't run through. He'll have a bit of time to get himself reset. Gabriel Gulli, young athlete who has a best of 13:87. Here comes Nelson Avora. Nelson Avora does not look 42 years old, you have to say. Far, far younger. And one of the most accomplished athletes in the history of Portuguese athletics is Nelson Avora. He's done so much, he has won so much, and how wonderful it is to still see him out there competing. Not taking it as seriously, obviously, these days. But the fact he's doing it at all is great to see. And let's see what he can produce here. Just a more ginger on the runway there, and pretty solid in all three phases of his technique. You can see him just more cautious in the landing there than he was in his heyday, for sure. He just didn't really throw the legs out in front of him the way he once would have, but perhaps for quite good reason, because those are body positions that are quite difficult to execute and could be quite harsh on the body as well. As we look back on track, it's time for the women's 800 meters. And we have a big field going to the line here from the inside. Lane 1, Sara Ribas. Lane 2 will be shared by Leticia Lorenco and Caroline Diaz. You can see the amount of athletes who are going to be on the track here. It's going to be a busy one. Lane 3, Beatriz Azevedo and Sofia Teixeira. Lane 4, Luana Valente and Sofia Duarte. Lane 5, Anita Alves and Mara Rodriguez. Lane 6, Alexandra Franca. Lane 7, Mariana Quiros. Lane 8 will be shared by Margarita Silva and Uhuru Rocha. So, looking towards some of the standout athletes here, you'd have to say that Sofia Duarte, the senior athlete in lane 4, she'll be going on the outside of lane 4. We very much expect her to feature prominently here. Uhuru Rocha as well on the outside from Brazil. She's run 2:06. Expect her to go well as well here, and you can see that Russia has gone out quite strongly there. And indeed in lane 4, it's no surprise to see Sofia Duarte just taking very close order, and she is going to run beside Uhuru Rocha here, looks like, behind the pacemaker as they hit 200 meters now, and it looks like a healthy pace at the moment being laid down. And it's quite high over the head. These drone shots, it is Margarita Silva alongside Uhuru Rocha there up front, along with Sofia Duarte. And these athletes just separating themselves a little from the pack at the moment. It is still early days. 400 meters reached. But now up front in this women's 800 meters, Sofia Duarte. Looks like she is starting to just assert at the moment. And we're now on the last bend. Uhuru Rocha trying to go with her. It does look like Sofia Duarte is going to be too strong here. It is Sofia Duarte who is kicking clear. We said she was the class of this field, and she is certainly proving it with a very strong last 100 meters. Sofia Duarte, the Portuguese senior athlete, pulls well clear at the finish. Very impressive finish it was from Sofia Duarte. And well done to the Portuguese athlete. We'll check that result.
Ora, uns 800 metros bem renhidos, de grande nível, parabéns à atleta de Portugalense, Sofia Duarte, a ser então a grande vencedora nestes 800 metros. Ela que veio para esta prova com marca de 2:4:75, a atleta do Brasil, Uhuru Rocha, veterana de 35, 2:6:40, marca com que se representou então aos 800 metros. Vamos ver então quem terá sido a terceira classificada.
So brilliant race that was. Sofia Duarte. She kind of kept her powder dry through that opening lap, but simply had too much strength. In the end, 2:06.84 on the clock, so it's close enough to her personal best for Sofia Duarte. And then Uhuru Russia taking second with 2:10.11, and it was Beatriz Azevedo, under 23 from Portugal, 2:13.18, takes third place. And we'll have just one more track event still to come, but plenty of action ongoing on the field. The track event will be the men's 1500 metres, which is only about 7 minutes away. So we're looking forward to that one, and we'll try to keep you up to date on what's happening at various field events before then. As you see, confirmation on that. I was going to say big screen, but it's a relatively small screen. Javelin is in its fourth round now for the women, and it is for the men, it is João Fernandes leading there with 69.56 out of his Portuguese compatriot Ilírio Nazaré, 66.58, and then back in third it is Clewerton Siqueira of Brazil, 61.65 for him in round 5. Meanwhile, the women's javelin, it's Ariana Moraes. They're also now in round 5 with 51.15. She leads the way ahead of Margarita Antonio, who's in second on 42.18, just ahead of Aleida Mendes on 41.91. Meanwhile, what we're watching here, Pedro Correa in the men's high jump. Now it's back to the women's triple jump. Let's see what the ladies can produce. Nasira Varela.
Bora pinchar!
De Lisboa, meeting memorial professor Muniz Pereira, uma justa homenagem ao senhor atletismo. Obviamente sempre no coração de todos.
We are in round 2 of the women's triple jump. Nasira Varela, junior athlete, fouled in her first round. Let's see what she can produce here.
O dia da nossa nação, do nosso país. E vamos então preparar para assistir a sempre a uma prova bastante emocionante de 1500 metros. A presença de Miguel Moreira do Sporting do Benfica, campeão nacional de corta-mato, ele que teve um ano de 2026 com algumas lesões, atleta internacional. Será hoje
So men coming out now for the 1500 meters, which is the final track event. And there are some of the athletes who will be going to the line for the final track event, the men's 1500 meters, but keep an eye on the field events once that's done. A few minutes away, and indeed before that starts, as we look back to this women's triple jump. It is Beatriz Barreño in round 2. She fouled in the first round.
Foi campeã nacional de sub-23 dos 1500, título conquistado em 2025. Miguel Moreira, campeão nacional de corta-mato, campeão nacional de pista coberta dos 3.000 metros. Ele que esteve no Campeonato da Europa de pista coberta em 2025, sendo
Men's triple jump, which is going alongside. Would you believe it's only the second round, but Nelson Avora is winning. Be great to see the 42-year-old come back after a few years out and win a competition. Might not be the level of competition that he's used to, but it'll be quite a story if he manages to take victory on the World Athletics Continental Tour. Here is Sofia Quintino of Portugal. Looks like she's okay on the board. Does she get the white flag? Official just watching her like a hawk as she walks out the side of the pit. And Quintino, who jumped 11:59 in the opening round.
Campeão de Portugal absoluto dos 1500 metros em pista coberta. Leandro Monteiro, mais jovem promissor do Sporting de Portugal.
Let's see what she has done in round 2.
Os candidatos, os homens que dentro de momentos iremos fazer a apresentação agora.
So it looks like 11:80 there for Quintino. It is an improvement on the 11:59. For now, let's look back to the track for the men's 1500 meters. As I mentioned, the last track event on the program, and it is a very, very big field, a huge field. 21 athletes in total. That is a lot for 1500 meters. Let's hope they all get home safely. And there's not too much of a cavalry charge to that first bend, but there is a pacemaker in there, so I'd imagine a lot of these men will string out in single file as we see Gabriel Guilly in the men's triple jump. This is in round 2 of the men's triple jump. Pretty even across all 3 phases there for Guilly.
Missing.
And the full lineup might take a while to get through them all, so I'll start now for the men's 1500 meters, 21 of them taking to the line. Thomas Nobre, Sandro Baise, Alexandra Lucas, Igor Varela, Miguel Mascarenas, Miguel Moreira, Alex Macuagua, Tiago Jorge, Diogo Avila, Ricardo Paixão, Leandro Montero, Thomas or Silva, as we see Nelson Ovora back on the runway. And I'll complete this full 1500 meter lineup. Thomas Silva, Joel Barrios, Rodrigo Freitas, Isaias Gomez, Eduardo Beca, João Pedro Santos, Francisco Yoga, Samuel Rodriguez, Duarte Santos and Rodrigo Lima. That's the full field for the men's 1500 meters, which will be upcoming. But first up, back on the runway, leading this men's triple jump competition, is the legend that is Nelson Ovora. And you can see pretty much everyone with a free hand is clapping in the arena for this man who is so beloved in the triple jump scene and especially in Portuguese athletics. Nelson Ovora. What can he produce here?
Aí está Nelson Ovora. Hoje então a marca, ele vai terminando o concurso do triplo salto.
I'll give you that reading when we have it, but meanwhile you can see it's almost like a cross-country start there. Looking at the way the men are lining up, where literally they can't fit in a shoulder-to-shoulder manner, where someone has to just accept that you're going to be starting pretty much behind the line when 21 athletes are sharing 8 lanes, and you can see the 2 men on the inside there. Some of the quickest men in the field. Just looking down the start line, the likes of Alex Macuagua, Sporting Club, 346. Miguel Moreira, number 267. He'll be certainly a man to watch. 338 man at his best. The likes of João Pedro Santos, yes. Sporting Club Portugal, those green and white stripes. Number 216, number 222 there is Leandro Monteiro, he's run 3:48. Number 100, Thomas Or Silva has a 3:49 man beside him. Rodrigo Freitas there in the red, he's run 3:55. Isaac Gomez, he's hoping to break 4 minutes. Eduardo Beca there in blue, 3:49 for him. This man is a big contender on the outside. João Pedro Santos of Sporting Club de Portugal, 3:39 his best. How quick can he go on home turf? But João Pedro Santos, often you'll see that where the leading athlete does line up. I know it is pretty much the draw, but a lot of times the strongest athletes will want to be outside there and maybe just have the pacemaker to their right and then just allow the pacemaker drift in across them. But Pedro Santos has preferred to slot in from the outside and take up order quite prominently towards the front behind the pacemakers, but there's a bit of a guessing game at the moment in the main pack. Everyone's just not quite sure who's going to bridge that gap to the pacemaker, but now thankfully the void is filled in and the men shuffle into order, and you'd expect a pretty strong pace here. There's great range of ability, so really the number of men on the track shouldn't be too big an issue, because you've men in here who've never broken 4 minutes, you've other men who've run under 3:40, so they will string themselves out very quickly. It was just that first bend with those kind of numbers on the track that could have been a little tricky, but from here on out it should be fine, because there is a discrepancy in ability between a lot of these men, and they will really be stretched out here before we even reach 400 meters. But it's a perfect train, all just running pretty much in unison there, and a great shot of the shadows down the back straight as well. You can just see the mechanics of the athletes in those shadows. It is a gorgeous sight at this time of the evening to see all that, all the athletes running in unison. And it does look like João Pedro Santos has slotted into 3rd position there, which is essentially 2nd position, because I believe there's 2 pacemakers in here. And Pedro Santos looks quite keen to get on with things here. He has gapped the rest of the field, and the likes of Miguel Moreira there is back in the pack. I think he's in the blue. He's also a man to respect highly here as well. He's very much in the mix of a lot of sporting athletes here in those green and white stripes, but they pass through with 800 meters to run. It'll be fascinating to see how this plays out from here. It does look very much like João Pedro Santos is keen to get on with things. How hard will he push this when the pacemaker steps aside, and crucially how much help will he get for the pacemaker? Usually in the 1500 meters they get to about 800-900 meters. The really good ones will get to 1000 meters, and he's getting some great help here as we pass 900 meters. Just 2 men left at the front, and it's about a 10-meter deficit at the moment back to the athletes chasing, and they're not that far away that they couldn't get there, you have to say. And it does look like this is not just a pacer, it is in fact a racer up front. So just 2 athletes left at the helm, and they're starting to probably get a bit antsy at the moment. That is Miguel Moreira indeed in the red, so it's the 3:38 man and the 3:39 man. Miguel Moreira at the moment leads, as we see the podium presentation for that women's 800 meters at a really inconvenient time to cut away from this men's 1500 meters, but hopefully we'll get back to it quick, because Miguel Moreira and it looks like João Pedro Santos were going head to head for the win up front, but they have company now from 2 athletes in behind who have joined them, and it looks like Miguel Moreira's race might be run. He has suddenly dropped through the pack like a pebble through water, and he now does step aside just over 1200 meters into the race, so it looks like he was probably a pacemaker perhaps after all. And it is João Pedro Santos of Sporting Club de Portugal who has command at the moment. He has the lead, but he also has company, unwanted company, with 100 meters to run in this 1500 meters. One of them is his clubmate, another of them looks like Diego Avila. It is Avila there powering down the outside, and Diego Avila is gonna spring the surprise here on Pedro Santos. It is Avila, Diogo Avila, who saved his best for last and produces a massive performance there Massive kick down that last 100 meters to sweep to victory in Lisbon. So what a thriller that was. The men's 1500 meters, the final track event of the evening. Diogo Avila. He was well off the pace early on, but he really did power through brilliantly there. What a performance that was, because he certainly didn't probably expect to be in contention, maybe 500-600 meters out, as well as he was with 100 to go. But look at that for a finish. Out into lane 2, that lane of high hopes, and Diogo Avila, 3:42 it is for him, 0.1 takes victory. Looks like it's officially confirmed now for Avila, the under 23. A brilliant performance by him.
Diogo Avila a terminar então na primeira posição, muitos parabéns. Vamos continuar este, aproveitando então para...
Still waiting on the official confirmations of the others, and indeed we now have the second placer, João Pedro Santos, 3:42.66, so just half a second behind. Diogo Avila, 223s with bright futures, both clocking 3:42, which is equivalent of a 4-minute mile, which even in the age of improved track and spike technology is very impressive running.
Uma prova que ficará obviamente sempre na história pelo regresso do nosso grande campeão.
So let's check back in on this women's triple jump.
Terminando o triplo salto.
It was Duarte Santos coming through for third, just to confirm, in that men's 1500 meters, 3:43 for him. So the javelin is heading towards the 6th round. It is João Fernandes leading the men's with 60 meters. The women's, it is just completed. Ariana Moraes took victory there with 51 meters. But looking towards this triple jump competition, and of course men's and women's triple jumps on at the same time. In the women's, we are up to round 4, and Leticia Oro Melo leads the way with 13:06 in the women's, ahead of Tatiana Pereira and Beatriz Barreño. 12:83 and 12:22 for them in second and third. Meanwhile, in the men's, it's as you were. We're heading into we're halfway through round 3, and it is Nelson Avora still leading the way with 15:30. The 42-year-old former Olympic champion, rolling back the years and on his way to winning competitions again. Nelson Avora, if he can hold on these last 3 rounds, and isn't he happy with that? Great to see him out there. Gabriel Oliveira is back in second, 14:12 for him, and then back in third it is the under 18 Gabriel Guilly, also of Portugal, 13:75.
Cerimónia protocolar de lançamento do peso masculino. Presida a cerimónia o Sr. Nelson Caldeira, dirigente da Associação de Atletismo de Lisboa. Na terceira posição, o presidente do grupo desportivo do Estreito, com marca de 16:05, Daniel Santiago. Vamos lá bater palmas, ninguém bate palmas, vamos lá.
Vamos atrás, vamos alguma coisa, né?
Segundo classificado, in the second place, representing Finland, 18:03, Mika Laton. de Portugal, 18:43, de Senko Arnove.
So confirmation of that win for Sanko Arnautoff, 1843. Didn't have it all his own way in the end. Mika Latonen just 40 centimeters behind from Finland, and then it was Daniel Santiago of Portugal also. 16:05 takes third place.
Vamos!
The cry of Vamos
Vámonos!
goes out, and Vamonos, let's go.
Vamos lá, muitas palmas, força!
Nelson Avora back on the runway, rolling back the years. What can he produce here? Leads the way at the moment, over 15 meters. Can he extend his advantage? This men's triple jump competition. Beautiful drone shot there from the side. You really get to see the different phases. It is a red flag, unfortunately, but you can certainly see the way Avora lands. He kind of just has the natural life cycle, I guess, of a triple jumper. He's kind of just protecting his legs, really, not shooting them out in front of him. Takes a lot of mobility to be able to do that. And perhaps just playing a low-risk game these days. You can see here, look at the way his feet land. Just quite upright, almost standing or squatting down onto the sand, whereas previously he'd be almost fully seated with his legs out in front of him. Fully out in front of him. But that was then and this is now. Nelson Avora is 42 years old. He's not at his peak. He's not taking things as seriously these days. He hasn't jumped competitively in a few years, but it's brilliant to see him out there. And not just out there, he's also winning.
Segunda classificada, marca de 15:12, Francislane Serra. E nessa hora, com marca de 18:47, atleta individual, Eliana Bandeira. Muitos parabéns.
So there we are, confirmation of that win by Eliana Bandera. 1847, very good throwing for her to take victory ahead of Francislane Serra. 15:12, and then back in third with 14:46 it was Mariana Camara. Completes the action in the women's shot put. So track action is complete. We're just closing out the competition in this men's Nelson Avora leading. This is Gabriel Oliveira, who is currently in second position with 14:12. Looking to improve that, Oliveira. Just collapsing a little bit there in the second phase. You could see that the level of strength and coordination you need just to maintain the amount of pressure and force that just goes through those knees and those ankles in the various phases of the triple jump. It is extraordinary. You can just see it taking a bit of effect there for Oliveira in the final phase. Just that leg giving way slightly and not quite.
cerimónia protocolar do salto em altura masculino. Presida a cerimónia o Sr. Dirigente da Associação de Atletismo de Lisboa, Nelson Caldeira. A terceira posição, visitando o Sport.
So a few more presentations ongoing before we round things off. This, of course, is the high jump. Pedro Correa taking victory with 2:10 ahead of Diogo Oliveira, 2 meters for him in second, and Marty Bernat 194 back in third.
Presidente do Sporting Clube Portugal 200, Diogo Oliveira. E o vencedor, primeiro classificado, visitando Gregas, 2:10, Pedro Correia. Parabéns, muitos, e palmas, por amor de Deus, vamos lá bater palmas, que eles merecem.
Elizabeth, amigo? Isso aí, tá algum...
So, Nasira Varela started with 3 fouls in the women's triple jump. She's in the 4th round now. Let's see if she's produced anything better here. Meanwhile, Sofia Quintino will be next up. Portuguese athlete who is currently back in 5th place on 1180. And it does look like Varela has improved her position there at least. After 3 fouls to open the competition, 12:26 in round 4.
Duarte Santos. Segundo classificado, representando o Sporting Clube Portugal, 3:42:66, João Pedro Santos. E o vencedor, em primeiro lugar, atleta do Bolívia Verde, 3:42:10, Diogo Ávila.
Beatriz Barreño then, who is in 4th place at the moment in the women's triple jump. We're in round 4. And that's an immediate foul for her. And the good news is she knew as soon as the foot hit the board, so she didn't have to waste the energy on phases 2 and 3. We caught sight of that red flag in her peripheral vision, but Barreño will stay in 4th position as we edge closer towards round 5 in the women's triple jump.
Iremos entregar aos 3 primeiros masculinos e femininos.
Nelson Avora still leads the way in the men's event. 15:30 ahead of Gabriel Oliveira and Gabriel Quilly. 14:13 and 13:75. So comfortable enough at the moment for Evora. Looks like he's heading for a victory in his sojourn out of retirement. Here is Tatiana Pereira, who's in 2nd place in the women's triple jump. 12.83 her best, but she's got 23 centimeters to find on the Brazilian, who's leading at the moment, Leticia Oromelo. Let's see if she can get some of it back here. Looks like she's gonna get the white flag.
No setor masculino, o terceiro Marcos Lara do Sporting de Portugal, o segundo Pedro Poirot do
So
Sporting
in round 4, here is the leader, Leticia Oromelo,
de Lisboa e Benfica.
Brazilian,
Portanto, será esta
leading of course for the Portuguese club,
setor masculino e feminino.
Sporting.
Os pontos que vão contando então para a entrega.
13.06, the current leading mark, which has her out in front, ahead of Tatiana Pereira and Nisira Varela.
Agradecimento à Toyota de Portugal, agradecimento à Sport Zone, nossos patrocinadores.
So what can Oromelo produce here in round 4?
Não, eu não faço isso, não tenho 15 anos para beijar. Mano, se calhar é a máquina de lavar louça, já disse. Há quem beixe muito mal. Então? Há quem beixe muito mal. Mas eu estava a dizer assim, não, isto é beijando.
So a run through there for Oromelo, and that brings round 4 to a conclusion. We're heading into round 5. 5 athletes in the women's competition, and of course the 4 men in the men's are still going as well. They're also about to head into round 5. Next up though will be Nelson Avora taking his 4th round attempt.
Tatiana Pereira 12,84.
Imagina, vai ser coisa mal, tipo, estou à espera dele olhar.
Nisira Varela 12,26.
Let's see what he produces.
12,22 e a Sofia Quintino 12,80.
Ah, pois é. É vida, né? Pois. A gaja vai ser corna, mas também se sai com o ex, o mundo também é corno.
Setor masculino, Nelson Évora 15,30. Segunda posição, Gabriel Oliveira 14,13. Terceiro, Gabriel Gulli 13,75. E na quarta posição, Bruno.
So a reminder that in the 2 remaining field events, we are heading towards round 5. And Leticia Oromelo leads Tatiana Pereira and Nasira Varela in the women's, and Nelson Avora leads Gabriel Oliveira and Gabriel Guilly in the men's.
Qual é o nome dela? Daniela Dantas. Mas ela continua má. Sim, só que já...
Looks like Bruna Gaspar is coming out to the runway. That's Gabriel Guilly.
As pernas e o rabo.
Ora, vamos a isso, o vosso carinho para o Bruno Gaspar. A tentar ver a sua marca 13,71.
Mano, não sei, mistura de homem com mulher, tipo, ela tem tudo ali. Só que está bem. Mas está bem, está profissional. Ela depois também tem bem perna e bem mão. Não, ela deve pesar tipo uns 60 quilos. Está bem baixinha.
O teu companheiro aqui na frente.
É que vê se vem quente. Eu acho que eu não sabe se eu usar uma calção.
So Gabriel Guilly, the under 18 from Sporting, trying to improve on the 13.75, and that's not going to do it. Just he aborted mission there. Shakes his head. Let's hope he's not injured. But 2 more attempts await if he wants them, Guilly, to try and improve his position, which is currently 3rd. Not sure if he is going to take them. And it doesn't look like Nelson Avora took his 4th attempt either, so maybe his work is done. Who knows? He's having a chill there on the bench. Is Avora.
ainda por cima
And mixed up to the runway
a entrada é 1 hora ou 2
will
horas
be
dos jogos. É livre.
Gabriel Oliveira,
Café lá dentro também. Isso é
who's currently in second position
Não, mas tu também.
with 14:13.
Os que são de Portugal, a entrada é 1 hora antes e os de Portugal é 2 horas antes. Olha o puto, no móvel.
Let's see if he can improve upon that.
2 horas antes. Não. Imagina, as portas abrem 2 horas antes, mas tu não precisas estar lá 2 horas antes. Mas acho que vai ter
Para Gabriel Oliveira, 14:13. Vamos lá, Gabriel.
está ali. Aquilo está atrasado. Está sempre.
So Gabriel Oliveira then, the under 23. He's currently in second place on 14:13. He would need over a metre to catch Evora. That's a big ask, but that's a foul, so it's all gonna be deemed irrelevant on this particular occasion in round 5. It's 12:08 there in the last jump we saw from Gabriel Guilly. So just a few more jumps and it'll all be wrapped up here. We're heading into round 5 in the women's. 2 last attempts for them to change the order. And in the men's, just a handful of jumps remaining as we're midway through round 5.
Da publicidade, eles colocaram mesmo, tipo Nelson é. Se os juízes estão a bazar, nós também podemos bazar. Não, quer furar mais a orelha, pá. Hã? Quer furar mais a orelha. Queres furar onde? Terceiro aqui e faço o quarto e se calhar faço o quarto, não faço um por dentro que depois fica assim, que é o concha. Eu quero furar o terceiro aqui e depois eu quero fazer alguma coisa para aqui, só não sei o quê. Só não sei o quê. Eu estou a pensar em cagar neste, deixar fechar.
So we're into round 5 in this women's triple jump, and Nasira Varela
Todas engordadas.
is going to be first up. Let's see what she can produce. It looked pretty good across all 3 phases. She gets the white flag. It will be measured. Varela, of course, was in last place after the opening 3 rounds. That's why she's 5th. Or first up, I suppose, in the order, but we go in reverse order, of course, down the home stretch. And that's why she's first up, even though she has moved up to 3rd overall. Here is Sofia Quintino, patiently waiting her turn.
Eu fui a Constância, estavam a dar, não tinha almoço, eu comi os 5 pães. Havia frente a gente, estava a jogar o pão, para guardar. Não tinha almoço, o almoço era pão, comi 4 pães. Vai ficar
Já
espetacular.
Sofia Quintino.
Para editarmos para depois ir fazer novo, né? É o que acontece.
So let's see what Sofia Quintino can produce here. She's down in 5th place at the moment with 1180. Looks a little bit dejected after that 5th round effort. It was 12:28 by Nasira Varela in the last round, so that's a slight improvement from her. She stays in 3rd position, Varela, but has moved up just a touch.
Só assim é que eu ia conseguir. Eu não tenho força nas pernas, eu nem tenho força nas pernas. Treinar na mesma. Pois, eu queria falar, mas acredito que já tinham antes até de
Here is Beatriz Bereno. She's in 4th place at the moment, a Portuguese under-23 athlete, 12:22. She's quite close to catching Varela, stirring up a bit of atmosphere amongst the crowd.
Ela tipo não usa nada, tipo, não está tipo com a camisola na cama do piercing, está assim. Deve ser decente, para não estar a puxar. Olha, se eu também tivesse, não ia tapar o
Red flag for her, so no joy there.
Mas é meio, quem tem nunca tapa. Fica a mostrar sempre.
Eu acho que é porque também, dependendo do cursinho, deve doer muito bolsa.
Sim. Mas tipo, tu a correr deve doer. Quando tu eu meti no chat porque eu assim, posso fazer isto? Ele assim, é pá, podes, mas tens que cuidar bem.
So, round 5 of this
Mas eu
triple jump. Leticia Oromelo leading the way, ahead of Tatiana Pereira and Nasira Varela. And here is Pereira, 12.84 in the opening round. Sorry, 12.84 in the fourth round. Has her in second place. She needs 22 centimeters to catch Leticia Oromelo out front. And she challenged 13 meters here. That looked a good effort. We'll see if it's enough.
Para mim já é uma besta, mas eu estou a falar muito bem. Não, acho. Ele podia vir com uns comentários que nós temos amigos, ele é capaz. Imagina, mas eu já te considero minha besta.
Eu também, mas eu estava aqui com o Ribeiro, porque ele estava a pedir cena disto, por isso assim.
Here is our leader in the women's triple jump, Leticia Oromelo. She has firm command at the moment. Only athlete over 13 meters, but I'm sure she would love to improve that. So let's see what she can produce, the Brazilian, here in round 5.
Já nem pediu como, mas já.
Looked a pretty good jump. Certainly no sign of a red flag there, so it's going to be a valid effort by Oromelo. It was 12.73 in the last round for Pereira. Let's see what this is by Leticia Oromelo. It was 12.73 there, so no, 12.73 for both Oromelo and Pereira. No improvement for either of them. And now we move on to round 6.
Porque os meus pais, antes de estarem casados, já tipo tinham filhos.
Ah, ok.
O meu pai tinha tipo dois filhos. Não, tem 2 filhos, uma menina e um rapaz. E a minha mãe tem um rapaz. Mas eu não falo com eles da parte do pai. Porque tipo, não cresci com eles.
Ah, já, não faz sentido.
Atenção às atletas Ariane
E tipo, a minha irmã da parte do pai tipo, nem fala com o pai e tipo, há 2 anos atrás começou tipo, a ligar para o meu pai a querer falar com ele e depois tipo, queria falar comigo. E a cara não vamos tentar forçar uma amizade, uma relação.
Não confesso, é louco.
Imagina, curti muito o meu irmão às vezes. Acho que também está. E assim vai forçar. Ela tem que 26 para
É tipo a minha irmã procurou, mas ela tipo, tinha 15 ela tinha tipo 26, agora ela tem tipo 29 e eu tenho tipo 19, tenho 20 e tipo, imagina, no início foi bem estranho, no início foi até
So, selfie time for Nelson Avora. Looks like the job has been done there. He seems pretty confident, or maybe he's just taking a bit of time out. And we're back underway in this men's triple jump. Bruno Gaspar now in round 5. So it looks like they were taking a pause and they will now be resuming. Perhaps before round 6 in the women's competition. But there is Bruno Gaspar, the under 20 who jumped his best of 13.71 in round 3. Has him down in 4th position. Looking to see if he can improve that.
Para analisar o que eu vou comer. Acho que vamos ter que ir ao Mac.
Eu prefiro, por acaso, comer cá.
Então vá,
Como é que tem a hora? Vamos estender aqui.
tens o Mac aqui embaixo.
Ok. Eu acho que eu estava a olhar agora se é que era em Natal. E Natal também tem Mac ali. Vocês sabem o meu nome, pá? Não, já acabou.
Coitado, puxei bem mal o meu cabelo.
É que é boa cara de saber o meu nome lá.
Não, mas eu procurei.
eu sempre conheço a gente e essa não sabe. Por acaso tinham-me dito, mas já esqueci.
So here he is back on the runway for round 5. Nelson Avora, 13.66 it was by Bruno Gaspar in the last round, so no improvement for him. In fact, it's not quite Avora yet. We're jumping the gun. It is Gabriel Oliveira. So it looks like Gabriel Guilly is passing his 5th attempt. I might see him back in round 6, but it's on then to Gabriel Oliveira. And that's a red flag for Oliveira, so no improvement for him. He stays in 2nd with 14.13. And his pal, but also his rival tonight, Nelson Avora, applauding him along from behind there on the runway. He still leads Avora with 15.30, headed for victory, it seems. And here he is, stirring up the crowd. Doing something he's done so many times over the last 2 decades or more. It's now 18 years since Nelson Avora claimed Olympic gold in the triple jump, Beijing Olympics. And here he is, and how fantastic it is to see him still jumping, enjoying himself out there, healthy, doing what he was really born to do. Like, at one point in his career, no one else in the world could do it as well as him. Nelson Avora looks to be headed for victory. What can he produce here? Is it an improvement on the 15.30? We'll wait and see. Looks like it's going to be measured. A little bit of frustration visible there in his expression. Hopefully no injury issues. The triple jump is one of the most savage events in terms of the knees, the hip joints, the ankle. Vicious amounts of force going through all those joints. But he's limping a little gingerly out of the pit there, but let's hope it's nothing too severe for Nelson Avora, who is well on track for victory here. The World Athletics Continental Tour Challenger level meeting. See the replay there of where he was on the board. Looking just about perfect. But who knows?
Para 15:42. Está o Nelson a confirmar a liderança no triplo salto.
So, with round 5 complete in the men's, and it was an improvement for Nelson Avora, in fact. 15.42 has just come up there in the system. It was a 2.2 tailwind, so slightly illegal in terms of personal best performances and all that, but it's not something that Nelson Avora needs to be worrying about. He's not looking to make the major championships. He's not looking to break his personal best. He's just looking to get out there and compete. And he's not just competing, he's winning. 15.42, he leads by 1.3 meters now over Gabriel Oliveira, with Gabriel Guilly back in 3rd. Meanwhile, we're into round 6 in the women's triple jump, and this is Nasira Varela of Sporting Club, who's going to be next on the runway. There is Nelson Navora, and maybe she'll grow up to be a champion one day. Who knows? But here is Nasira Varela, final attempt for her to try and improve from third in the women's triple jump.
Para Nasira Varela, 12:28. Qual será então mais e a melhorar? Ela está neste momento na terceira posição. Sofia Quintino, vamos lá, Sofia! Acredita!
Sofia Quintino then. Let's see what she can produce. A reminder that Leticia Oromelo still leads the way with 13:06. Tatiana Pereira 12:84 in second, and Nasira Varela back in third, 12:36. Beatrice Barreño will be next up. It's 11:38 there coming through in the system for Sofia Quintino. No improvement for her in the positions. So what can Barreño produce here? That looks like a good attempt in her sixth and final jump.
Agora está na quarta posição com 12:22. Ora, recorde nacional do Nelson Nebra, treinos a mais de 2 metros. 20:40, portanto, o Nelson a bater o recorde nacional com 15:42.
Next up on the runway, Tatiana Pereira, the under-23 athlete from Portugal. 12:84 her best. Looking to improve on that. Leticia Oromelo, 13:06 is the lead at the moment. Rousing the crowd a little, getting that rhythmic clap going. Tatiana Pereira here in round 6. This will be the penultimate jump of the competition. And she needs 13:06. Would be a 22 centimetre improvement. That's the mark she's thinking of. She'd love to get close to 13, but not going to happen with a red flag. Competition at an end. It's second place for Tatiana Pereira. Third place will go to Beatrice Barreño. And first place, with a jump so far of 13:06, is Leticia Oromelo.
Ora, teremos então Leticia Oromelo, ela que continua com medalha de ouro no peito, 13:06. Feito logo ao primeiro ensaio, à primeira tentativa.
here is your winner in the women's triple jump, Leticia Oromelo.
Para salto válido, vamos ver se vai consolidar esta vitória.
12.73 in the last round, but 13.04 her opening jump of the competition was the best, and that was ultimately the winning one. And let's see if that is an improvement for Oromelo in round 6. But now just a few jumps remaining in the men's in round 6 there. Depending on which of the men takes to the runway again. Not sure all of them will take their 6th attempt. But that is a jump of 12.46 it was there for Leticia Oromelo. That confirms victory for her in the women's triple jump.
Vencer então esta prova de triplo salto, a Leticia Oromelo. Primeira Letícia 13.06, Tatiana Pereira 12.84, Beatriz Barranho 12.54, Naisira Varela 12.36 e Sofia Quintino 11.80.
So it's the last chance saloon in this men's triple jump. It's been changed, and Bruno Gaspar will be our 4th last competitor. He's in 4th at the moment. He jumped 13.71. That's the mark he's looking to improve. Extra 4 centimeters would get him up to 3rd. Let's see if he can find it here, the Portuguese. Gets the white flag.
Para salto válido.
So next up, that's just come in at 13.88 there. It was for Bruno Gaspar, so that is an improvement. That gets him up to 3rd place. Well done to Bruno. And now Gabriel Guilly has been deposed from the top 3, bumped down to 4th. The under 18 athlete will be looking to respond in kind here. Needs 13.88 to get back into the top 3. Let's see if he can do it.
Está neste momento na 4ª posição, 13.75.
So Gabriel Guilly gets the white flag, I think.
Agora vamos ver se chega para estar no pódio, Gabriela.
So that hasn't quite come through in the system yet, but we'll focus on what's happening here, because Gabriel Oliveira has one last chance to try to defeat an Olympic champion. It's very unlikely. He would need over a metre to catch Nelson Avora. I think Mr. Avora is safe. Victory is secured. The World Athletics Continental Tour Challenger meeting on home turf in Lisbon. But could it be that Gabriel Oliveira would take down an Olympic champion? That's what he'll try to do. He would need something over 15 metres though. 15.42 is the current mark by Avora. It's highly unlikely anyone's going to get back at that, but let's see what Oliveira can produce here in round 6. The under 23 Brazilian athlete. 14.13 his best so far. Tailwind behind him. That looks a good effort. All 3 phases well spaced out, and he almost sprinted out of the pit there in the excitement. And he is pretty much skipping up the runway, loving life. Gabriel Oliveira. Really good final phase there. Just stretched his legs, stretched his body very well. What has he produced in the final round? It looks like it's probably going to be an improvement going off the way he was behaving. It's not come through yet. I can tell you that Gabriel Gilly did improve in the final round. He got back up to third place with a 13.93 effort. And it's just come up, it is a huge improvement by Oliveira. It's 14.86. Now he's still over a half metre shy of Nelson Avora. It's not going to be enough for victory, but it is a big step forward in round 6 there by Gabriel Oliveira. But that means that it's essentially a coronation jump for this man. Nelson Avora, 42 years old, 18 years on from his victory at the Beijing Olympics. And Nelson Avora, he's not quite jumping as far these days, 15.42 so far tonight. But a win is a win, and he's about to take a win on the World Athletics Continental Tour at challenger level on home turf in Lisbon. Nelson Avora, look at that, focused like it's the Olympic final. He's a world champion, he's an Olympic champion in the past, and he's about to take victory here. What can he produce in round 6? Nelson Avora doesn't extend himself too far, doesn't look too fussed about the distance. He's had a fun night, he's had a successful night. And Nelson Avora, first competition in quite a long time, a number of years, and he has made it a winning one. So it's actually foul there in round 6 for Nelson Avora. And can confirm the results of those final 2 events. Men's triple jump, Nelson Avora takes victory, rolls back the years, 15.42 ahead of Gabriel Oliveira in second with 14.86 and Gabriel Guilly third with 13.93. Women's triple jump, Leticia Oro Melo, 13.06, takes victory ahead of Tatiana Pereira with 12.84, and finally Beatriz Barreño rounded out the podium with 12.54. But with a former champion and a current champion of this meeting, Nelson Avora in shot, smiling broadly and chatting with his coach and loved ones there who he's had alongside tonight. He'll be going home a very happy man. Well done to Nelson Avora and indeed all the athletes who competed at this event at the Meeting Cidade de Lisboa 2026, coming to you live on the World Athletics Continental Tour, one of many events on that tour that will be streamed by European Athletics in the weeks and months ahead. But for me, Cathal Dennehy, it's been a pleasure to have you over the last few hours. Be sure to stay tuned to European Athletics website and indeed social media platforms in the weeks ahead. Lots more events being streamed. I might be with you for some of them. But for now, from me, it's goodbye.